Good morning.
This meeting is being recorded.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just want to check that audio. Did everybody else get quite a bit of
Echo.
yes.
I
Yeah.
think that might have been me. I had two different Zoom browsers open there and I closed one of them. Does that sound better?
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Morning, Mike. Mine coming through okay?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hey, Bill.
Commissioner Siebel will not be making it today, so I think we're just missing Commissioner Brooke. So Commissioner Burrows, I still see you on here twice. There.
Okay.
I now not. Now I don't.
Okay. Yeah, I did close one of the windows, so I think I
Wait.
just have one open now.
Nope, I do still see you. You're just in two different spots. You're on here twice still.
Okay.
One is just muted.
Good morning, Leslie.
Good morning.
Commissioner Chilcott just walked in.
Tell him hello. And we are in recording. We're being recorded. FYI.
It wouldn't be the first time he said something on camera, so.
Right. I think I only see you once now, Commissioner Burrows, so that's good. Better to be on here twice than not at all. Eric, can you check with Commissioner Brooke, just make sure she's not having difficulty getting on?
Yes, I will call her now.
All right, thank you. Okay. I see Commissioner Brooks on. We'll be getting started in about 5 minutes. Susan, you want to make sure your audio works?
Does it work?
Yep,
Let's see.
perfect.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
How was the pheasant tour?
It is really cool. I think they're giving a full report on it today, but very much worthwhile. There was a lot of people there. There was maybe 12 from the public. So yeah, it was good.
Oh, great.
I think what they say, 1,800 pheasants, 18,000 pheasants, I mean, are going to be released from last week to next week. So yeah, it was definitely worthwhile. I was thinking of you though, Casey.
Yeah, very sorry I missed that.
It was my first experience at the prison. I didn't even know, like when I was in Deer Lodge, how to get there. It's a huge ranch though. I mean, the prison property is like 37,000 acres.
Glad to report that I've never been there and have no intention of going except to see pheasant.
You're on the periphery. We weren't in like the main part.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a beautiful day.
This fall weather has been something.
Unreal.
We had a beautiful day yesterday touring the prison pheasant production. Yeah, it was interesting.
Did you have a good turnout on the tour?
We did. We had a lot of folks. It was pleasantly surprised.
I didn't count heads, but.
I didn't even. Commissioner Brooke joined us.
Yep. Something, there were 20 anyway, across all the staff and the testing publications.
A busload.
A
Yeah.
busload, yes. Yeah. Gorgeous.
I didn't realize there was so much involved in getting an egg to a pheasant.
You know what I didn't realize? I didn't realize that they maintain breeding pairs. I thought because when we raised pheasants, we just ordered the eggs. That adds a whole nother element, collecting eggs.
Good point. And there's the band grass.
Yeah.
I guess they do it there, I don't know, but yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, one more minute and we're gonna get started here.
Ken.
Good morning, Ken.
Morning. Oh, I gotta go for an hour.
What? Wait,
I'll be back.
no. You are not excused.
It's quite late, I'm leaving. We'd certainly have technical difficulties about happening.
Madam Chair, I have confirmed that we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. All right, 8:30. I will call this meeting to order. If everyone would please stand, and we have the flag on the screen, and we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. All right, I would, with the motions today, if you could please just say your name too, because sometimes it's hard for me to tell who is making the motion, but I would entertain a motion for the minutes, please.
Madam Chair, I'll move that we approve, it's Casey Walshire, that we approve the minutes from the August 21, 2025 regular meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Brooke. Okay, are there any corrections or additions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll go next to the commission expenses.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lane, I will move to approve the expenses, commission expenses as presented.
Okay, thank you.
Second that.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Brooke. Okay, any corrections or additions to those? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we will start with the commissioner reports. Ian, would you like to start us out, please?
Yeah, is this coming through?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll start off with a report from the wildlife desk, as it will be a kind of ongoing topic probably throughout the commission meeting. We're even seeing EHD up in northwest Montana, which is fairly unprecedented. The die-offs seem to be fairly isolated, but definitely concerning to see that over in this side of this state. We've got a fieldwork project going on for a statewide Martin project, and they've been underway on the field work in Region 1 for that, looking at occupancy and populations over time. Region 1 is hosting 7th International Human Bear Conflict Workshop in Kalispell. We're 350 people from 20 different countries and 31 states are in attendance. Director Clark, along with FWP staff, did a great job representing Montana at the conference. Fisheries, September, Salish and Kootenai Region 1 fishery staff collaborated to complete a native trout restoration project on the Jocko River. Next summer, they're going to be doing some West Slope trout reintroductions into Libby Creek. Red Band and West Slope cutthroat trout broodstock development program has been a priority task for fish and hatchery staff in Region 1. These broodstock will provide fish for meeting both recreational fisheries and conservation goals. I think the red band are the only native rainbow to the state. Quick update on Sportsman Bridge. That fishing access site's largely complete, but there's some ongoing work to improve the ramp somewhat and address a few concerns from local sportsmen. The Conclo fishing access site on Flathead Lake near Dayton, that's underway, and they've got the turn lane going into that FAS that's constructed. I guess one more fisheries related item that's come to my attention recently. The Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes, they have started a gill netting effort on the north end of Flathead Lake. I've had quite a few people reaching out to me, constituents concerned about that. FWP issued a statement on that and says that Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks acknowledges and respects the treaty rights of Confederated and Salish Kootenai tribes, including their right to fish in their usual and accustomed places. FWP also recognized the substantial recreational and economic value that lake trout in Flathead Lake provide to the public, anglers, and local communities. For many, this is a prized fishery that draws regional and national interest, contributing to Montana's outdoor heritage and supporting small business tied to tourism and recreation. So yeah, hopefully there's some continued conversations on that, some collaboration and whatnot. I know there's a bit of concern from constituents up here on that. Communication, education, Region 1 will be hosting a CWD workshop Thursday, October 30th from 5 to 6 p.m. There's a Hooked On Fishing education program that's back up and running in the 4th grade classes across the Flathead Valley. Hunter education courses and field days are wrapping up across the region. This fall, classes have filled up, and we've even had to add more field days to address the demand, which is a good thing to see. And we just want to shout out to all the volunteers that have been helping with those education programs. I guess as far as constituent meetings, it was fairly light month for me. Had Region 1 CAC meeting that I attended, meeting with the Region 1 staff, and then I was invited to a Trapper Rendezvous that was hosted by Paul Anzac. So that's what I have from my area.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, if you would go next, please.
Good morning. Start off with, I didn't meet with any groups this go around. Park and Outdoor Recreation and Maintenance seasonal employees are wrapping up their field work for the season. Their efforts have been essential in keeping FWP sites operational, safe, and providing a positive experience for the public throughout the busy summer months. Seasonal staff will return in the spring to support operations and field projects. The Fish Creek Trails Collaborative just kicked off its work to develop trail planning recommendations for the Fish Creek area, balancing recreation, conservation, and sustainable use. On the fisheries side, the field season is winding down and all hoot owl restrictions have been lifted. Thanks to everyone for their flexibility and teamwork in responding to the changing conditions this year, navigating low flows, monitoring weather patterns, and coordinating quickly to implement drought restrictions that help protect our fisheries and maintain healthy angling opportunities for a challenging summer. On wildlife, Region 2 staff have been receiving numerous reports of dead white-tailed deer along the Clark Fork River in the Frenchtown area. And EHD is suspected, but has not been confirmed, and regional staff's been working diligently to collect samples and document the extent of the die-off. On the access side, Region 2 has approximately 420,000 acres of private and isolated public lands enrolled in block management program for this hunting season. The Region 2 access team is preparing for a 5-week general season, securing seasonal vehicle transfers, restocking Type 1 BMAs, addressing permission requirement changes between archery and the general season, addressing occasional landowner and ranch needs, and responding to hunter inquiries. 7 seasonal hunting access technicians will be starting the week of October 13th. And the Region 2 access manager will be participating in the private public wildlife meeting on October 8th, presenting current utilization of private land fishing access programs. Communication and Education, Region 2 hosted a bear spray training trailer launch for Bear Awareness Month. FWP, in partnership with Montana's Outdoor Legacy Foundation and other supporters, featured a new bear spray training trailer with a robotic bear for hands-on practice. The program provides interactive education on bear awareness and safety, helping people prepare for real encounters and reduce bear-human conflicts across Montana. The new bear spray education trailer gets to stay in the region for future events, thanks to funding partners, including Safari Club International Foundation and the Western chapter of Safari Club. And speaking of bears, Eric, I think I sent a couple pictures. I don't know if you can pull those up.
Yeah, I'll retrieve those now, sir.
Okay. So on, as you may or may not know, I'm part of Hamilton Fire, and we got kind of a cryptic call for a assist from the fire department, and we got an address, so we didn't really know exactly what we were responding to. Wardens Royce and Gagnon in the Bitterroot responded to a bear that was wandering around in Hamilton, and they had tranked the bear, and it had got caught way up in the tree. It didn't come down like it was supposed to, and it ended up getting lodged up in a big fork up in the tree. And so I was a responder on the ladder truck that got to go in and retrieve this bear. So that's a picture of where it was wedged up in the tree up there, and this was right in downtown Hamilton. And if you go to the next picture, so I got to go up on the end of the ladder there, and we ended up tying the bear off, and it was a ways up in the tree. And so our concern was trying to tie him off and get him safely down to the ground. So the plan was to tie him off and then try and get him to land right on the ladder there. So if you just want to kind of keep scrolling through the pictures there, Eric, I think there's 5 or 6 of them there. So that's us on the way down safely in the ladder. And this was to me to get up on a bear that's, you still see the chest rising and falling, and once in a while his legs would twitch. And so we're up there in the ladder with this bear that's, still breathing and still twitching around. But and if you want to finish off the last couple there, Eric, that's us getting him down to the ground safely where we handed him off to the wardens. And there's them taking the ropes and the dart out.
Great photos.
And then lastly, we loaded him up in the trailer there. And about 90 seconds after we put him in the trailer, I don't know if it was just kind of a pulse of energy or blood flow to him, but he actually right there, while we were trying to put his snout into the trailer, he picks his head up and looks at us and kind of starts trying to move around a little bit, and a little unnerving when I was just 30 feet up in the air with this bear and holding on. But I guess to me, more than highlighting an accomplishment by me or Hamilton Fire, I think it's important that, especially coming off the heels of like wolf season and this flood of emails that we've been getting that are, accusing and portraying the commission, FWP staff, whoever, of just being these bloodlust killers that are out there and have no compassion and love for the animals. And I think we don't highlight, rescue missions and situations like this enough, because I think this is happening every day where we have sportsmen out on the ground and they're untangling fawns and calves out of fences. They're issues like this where we're saving wildlife. And I think it's unfair. And I think I just wanted to make sure we highlighted this to show that even though we put sometimes what some folks will call aggressive management strategies out there and lethal harvest, there is that love and that compassion for wildlife that when you see an animal in need, you're willing to put your own health and safety at risk to go up and get this animal out of a tree. And so I think it's important that we highlight, incidents and issues like this and show that it's not what a lot of people are trying to portray us as, is that while we may support fair chase and custom and culture and heritage of hunting, trapping, fishing, it's not what they portray as this bloodlust killing. So, end of report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Best report I've seen yet. So, Susan, would you go ahead, please?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm going to start with program updates. Well, first of all, I met with no outside groups. I was on a tour yesterday where there was some groups there, but I didn't meet with them. For program updates, 9 trumpeter swans were released in the Madison Valley this month as part of a multi-year effort to restore breeding population to the historic range. Trumpeter swans are the key indicators of healthy wetland ecosystems, and their restoration brings ecological benefits for native species, supports clean water, and reconnects the public with Montana's heritage. Plus, it's pretty cool. Restoration work is now underway on the lower Madison River to rebuild eroded islands and create improved rearing and spawning habitats for juvenile and adult trout. The goal of the project is to expand islands that have eroded over the last 40 years, leading to degraded willow habitats used by juvenile trout. This effort aims to increase fish populations, improve water quality, and sustain the recreational fishery. A side note to that, they've had some really bad years of low recruitment in this section of the river. So anything they can do to help that is great. This project, I've driven by it a couple times. It's a big, impressive project. They got some big equipment out there going across from next to the road that goes out onto these islands where they're putting big equipment. And it's a pretty cool looking project. Biologists and hatchery staff are repopulating streams such as Selway Creek and the North Fork of Spanish Creek with native cutthroat trout following successful non-native fish removal. The second and hopefully final treatments to remove, sorry, that was bad, my bad. Hopefully the final treatments to remove non-native fish were completed in several additional streams, supporting the long-term conservation of Montana's native trout. Regional activities that we've been talking a little bit about, the Roosters for Recruitment program. They released pheasants on Canyon Ferry and Lake Helena wildlife management areas to coincide with the youth opener, with additional releases planned throughout the season. I think there's a bigger report on that coming from the department. Wrapping up final hunter education events in the region for the year. Fish, Wildlife and Parks has hosted 39 bow hunter education events and certified 812 students in Region 3. Black bear and grizzly bear conflicts are ongoing in both backcountry and front country settings as bears enter hyperphagia, increasing bear human encounters near campsites and areas with unsecured trash. Everyone, please make sure to secure your trash. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
I have no rescue pictures of me rescuing anything.
Not this time. Casey, would you go ahead, please?
Happy to. Good morning. As we'll hear from Michelle here in a little bit, drought on the Rocky Mountain front continues to negatively impact reservoirs and rivers in Region 4. Multiple reservoirs have been drawn down to levels that have resulted in losses to fisheries. I see that locally at Bear Reservoir and some of the other reservoirs around here. Water releases from Tiber Reservoir impacting the Marias River recently dropped to 250 CFS with the intent to preserve water in the reservoir. 250 CFS is the lowest Tiber release on record. The Big Coulee Barrier project was completed in September and secured an important population of West Slope cutthroat trout. Big Coulee Creek is a stronghold for West Slopes, and however, the population's been threatened by non-native expansion due to a partial barrier, which needed improvement to prevent upstream passage of non-native species, and I understand that's now been completed. Hunting season's underway, and Region 4 staff have been busy with access programs, compliance patrols, and working with hunters and landowners alike. On the EHD front in Region 4, there was a single mule deer that tested positive east of Lewistown near Grass Range, and one reported antelope in the north end of Deer Elk Hunting District 447. Most other reports that have been received have been in Fort Benton, Geraldine, and the North Stanford areas. So far, it's been a slow start to archery season in Region 4, likely due to warm weather, but with the cooler conditions now, things should start picking up, and best of luck to everyone out there. I had no meetings with outside groups, but did have a good call with Will Israel of MOGA regarding season setting suggestions for the archery season in Region 4 for the 26-27 season. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bill, go ahead, and Commissioner Siebel is not on the meeting, so I will be doing his report too after you're done, Bill.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Start out, I had no outside meetings since the last commission meeting. We had two notable projects that the maintenance division have completed this past month. A new outhouse was installed at the BLM owned but FWP managed fishing access site at Fallon Bridge. This site experienced quite a bit of river traffic use, and managing human traffic with minimal facilities has been challenging. Because of the BLM ownership, the process of adding a comfort station had a few additional steps to accomplish, but many thanks to the parks and maintenance staff for seeing this project through. Then the second was a new parking area and trail system that was recently installed at Medicine Rock State Park to help facilitate night sky viewing. This site has proven to be an excellent location to view the nighttime stars, and the new facility will accommodate night sky viewers and further utilize the many wonderful amenities this small park has to offer. If you've never been there, I would highly recommend you go see it. It's just a really neat, and like I say, it's a small park, but very neat. Region 7 also recently held a bear aware training at our Miles City facility. Although the southeast corner of the state has a limited number of black bears compared to the other regions, the event still drew a dozen participants who were very interested in bear education and the correct use of pepper spray and the bear biology in Region 7. Our wildlife division, since early September, the staff has received multiple reports about suspect EHD and BTV white-tailed deer, as well as a few antelope and a couple of mule deer throughout the region. Lab tests have confirmed blue tongue in samples submitted between Terry and Forsyth, which also happens to be where most of the suspect reports have come from. A few other reports have come in from other areas in the region, but based on the number of animals reported, it does not appear to be as severe as the Yellowstone River Valley from Forsyth to Terry. Wildlife staff have been talking with landowners, collecting samples when viable, and talking with hunters. And most of the region received a hard frost here in the last week or so, which should help to kill the midge that spreads the EHD and BTV. So hopefully reports will slow down as fewer deer will be infected. In fisheries, the fishery crews are finalizing their annual population status sampling along the lower Yellowstone River. Crews sample 5 reaches along the river from Hysham to Sydney each month from August through October. Capture data from electrofishing surveys indicate a strong sauger, catfish, and native fish species throughout the entire reach. A fair number of smallmouth bass were sampled in the reach of the Yellowstone from Miles City upstream to Hysham. And there's been no anomalies, in the data compared to previous years. And lastly, the regional enforcement staff are busy checking archery, antelope, and upland bird hunters. Success rates amongst archery antelope hunters seem to be similar to the past few years, with some nice bucks being observed by hunters. Bird hunters seem to be struggling a bit to find sharp-tailed grouse. Prairie grouse numbers appear to be slightly lower than last year's population. However, all biological indicators coming into the hunting season pointed towards another above average year for prairie grouse, but initial observations by hunters on the ground are indicating less birds than were found in 2024. Hunters are still able to find limits of these sought after birds, but are having to hike a few more miles to accomplish this task. So that completes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll start with the Region 5 report. A renovation project for the Big Rock FAS near Big Timber is completed. Improvements at the Big Rock FAS included expanded and delineated camp areas, road realignment away from the riverbank, enhanced parking, and ADA sidewalk to the latrine. The site has been reopened to the public. A good response from the public has been received, with a request to review the raft launch area for future work. Along with many other regions, Region 5 is experiencing EHD also. Most reports are for white-tailed deer in the Yellowstone River between Billings and Pompey's Pillar, and along the Bighorn River, both north and south of Hardin. A mule deer northeast of Roundup tested positive for both EHD and blue tongue virus. Wildlife staff suspect that the BTV is the cause of death for antelope near molt, although testing has not been done due to the lack of fresh samples. Wildlife staff have also sent sick or dead geese and a great horned owl to the lab in Bozeman for avian influenza testing. Prolonged unseasonably warm temperatures are contributing to the higher numbers of EHD and BTV mortalities. And like Bill said, hopefully the recent cooler weather will reduce the incidence. We've had a frost here, which is Region 6, but I don't know if it was hard enough. But block management is open with seasonal staff in the field. We are seeing strong hunter day numbers at the BMAs with archery and upland opportunity. Archery hunters are experiencing difficult, hot, dry conditions across the region, and the harvest success has been limited. Upland bird hunters have experienced relatively good hunting and above average numbers of birds. 6 men from Washington and 2 from Montana recently pled guilty in Muscle County Justice Court for unlawfully killing bull elk and mule deer bucks between 2020 and 24. The individuals paid a total of $22,890 in fines and restitution and lost their privileges for a combined total of 28 years. Great job to Jake Barzin, who was the lead investigator in the case. Fisheries staff completed the second year of implementing a new Yellowstone River sauger sampling protocol using jet boats, electrofishing techniques, and in the fall, and a consistent site to generate a population estimate. Staff are also double tagging the Sauger with internal PIT tags and external flow tags to understand tag retention. Tag retention is near 100% for both. One tag return from this year was from 2015 work. This work will help evaluate current sauger population and regulations for the Yellowstone River in Region 5. As part of the regular review of sites to remain in compliance with encumbrances, a certified boundary survey of Beaver Lodge FAS near Red Lodge was conducted and recently finalized. Results documented several encroachments to FWP property. FWP is currently working with and contacting owners to address encroachments and comply with established property boundaries. So for Region 6, I guess I'll start, and I guess Commissioner Siebel didn't let me know if he had met with any groups. I have not met with any groups, mainly spoke to individuals. We run cattle on the CMR Wildlife Refuge, and it takes us over a week to gather it. And so it's all horseback. And I tried to visit with any hunters that I could, that were headed down the road. And so I did visit with several hunters, mostly non-resident hunters, I guess, that I spoke to, but mixed reviews. Some have had hunted down there before and aren't seeing as many, but they're still seeing elk. The very first person that we met, the very first day of season, had a success and was headed out already with their elk in the back. So it's just kind of nice to be able to talk to them on the ground and see how things are going. As far as Region 6, access technicians are getting ready for pheasant and antelope rifle opener, making sure boxes are stocked and signs are refreshed, while also refreshing the PALA project signage. Under the communication, the next Region 6 CAC meeting will be in Havre on October 15th, so coming right up. Several hunter education classroom courses, along with field days for online students, have been offered ahead of the general season. Region 6 ComEd is in the process of onboarding their new education and customer service technicians. Under fisheries, the Fort Peck Reservoir crew has begun collecting Chinook salmon for the annual Chinook salmon egg take. They should be able to get a lot of eggs this year since the fishery was excellent. Although we will have to wait to see what the creel data shows, it looked like it was a record year for the number of boats that were salmon fishing. The walleye surveys have been done on Fort Peck Reservoir, and fishery looks to be in great shape. Lots of walleye in numerous age classes and very high relative weights. Anglers should enjoy another phenomenal year next year. Nelson Reservoir netting was conducted, and similar to Fort Peck, the walleye numbers and the relative weights look great. Also a lot of perch, so this year's ice anglers should have some great fishing. 2 pallid sturgeons spawned in the Missouri River this summer downstream of Fort Peck Dam. This is very interesting since it's not a pallid sturgeon flow test here. Future monitoring will determine if the spawning was successful. Under wildlife, pheasant brood surveys indicate a lower brood production across much of the region, primarily due to early summer conditions. Region 6 is seeing white-tailed deer mortality along the Milk River with all the signs of hemorrhagic disease. Biologists are tracking its distribution and have multiple samples in the lab. I'm going to talk a little bit about conversations that I've had with local landowners. One landowner in specific that I spoke to has 2 different properties, one on each side of Malta, has personally counted 60 dead white-tailed deer. Another guy, I don't remember if he gave me specific numbers, but he said his place, he can't hardly go outside because of the smell of all the deer that they've lost. Same thing with the other landowner that I spoke to. I know we've had this before, but it's very bad in Region 6, and it's very few live deer that are being spotted, I guess, in the areas that this is happening. And I know we have pools of deer in other areas that aren't being affected, but the areas that are being affected along the Milk River mainly are extreme this year. The new Redwater fishing access site on the Missouri River is now complete. Recreationists and boaters now have direct access to a larger portion of the river. The new campsites, including picnic tables and fire rings, have been completed at the Culbertson Bridge fishing access site. Progress continues with planning for a new boat ramp at the Snowden River FAS, and conceptual designs have been completed for improvements to the archery and shooting range near Glasgow. I guess something else that I read on the CAC meeting notice is that I think construction is real close to being started on the new Haber office also. And that concludes my Region 6 report. And Director Clark, if you would like to give us your report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. First thing I'll address is our change to how we accept public comment to ensure efficiency and accuracy. We are simplifying our approach to how we officially collect public comment for the Fish Wildlife Commission meetings. Beginning with the December 4th, 2025 commission meeting, public comment will be collected by either physical mail, hand delivery, or our online portal. Our online portal is operated by SurveyMonkey, which allows folks to comment and upload an attachment. The great thing about the online portal is that the technology automatically gathers comment attachment and is uploaded, and it puts it into a single readable document for the commission to review. We believe this approach will provide improved customer service and streamline the process for staff as well. Under ComEd, all the regions have hired. As you guys probably recall, the legislature approved new FTEs in that area. Region 3 at Tech has accepted verbally, and they're working through the paperwork to now officially onboard her. The regional pools were very competitive, and we were impressed with the applicants we interviewed. There were over 200 applicants statewide, and those that we hired, 3 of the 7 were current FWP employees in different capacities: maintenance, AIS, and administration. 1 was a former AmeriCorps member with FWP, and 3 are coming from outside the agency. Some of them have started already. A couple start on October 20th, and 1 will start in November. We're providing an initial deep dive training into our ed programs at the end of October in Helena. Under fisheries, new employee for the fisheries division, we recently welcomed Andrew Gilman as the new fisheries management bureau chief. Working with FWP is a homecoming for Andrew, and he brings over a decade of experience with aquatic invasive species conservation, fisheries management in Montana, and we're really happy to have him on board and leading important efforts in the near future, like updating the statewide fisheries management plan. Region 1 has 2 vacant sergeant positions that will be filled this month. One of those positions is vacant from a transfer, and another is from a retirement. Chris Crane retired October 1st after nearly 20 years in Fish, Wildlife, and Parks enforcement. Chris served as a game warden in Region 1 and Region 7 from 2004 to 2022. And when he became a warden sergeant in Region 1. He also previously worked in fisheries and wildlife technician for FWP in late 1990s and 2000s. Throughout his career, Chris protected the state's wildlife resources with integrity, built strong relationships in the community, and served as a trusted steward of the outdoors. His commitment and professionalism have made a lasting impact, and he will be greatly missed. In Region 3, we are wrapping up the final hunter education events. For 2025 calendar year, we've hosted 39 bow hunter education events and certified 812 students in Region 3. At the end of September in Region 4, Conrad wildlife biologist Ryan Rouser will retire from the department after over 30 years of service. So that's my director's report. Tomorrow we will be touring Fish Creek. Marina and Jeff and I will be joining the other advisory committee folks to get a on the ground look up close and personal. And I do have pictures of me holding a trumpeter swan, but I didn't get them uploaded. Sorry, folks. Maybe next time. I don't know if I can top Commissioner Burrows.
All right, well, thank you. All right, well, since our reports are wrapped up, we will move into the Fishers Division for some updates.
Great. Hello, I am Michelle McGree. I am the Habitat Bureau Chief for the Fisheries Division. Chair Robinson, Commissioners. I'm giving you the drought summary for this summer. We had a multi-divisional group of staff that met weekly from mid-May through mid-September to discuss stream flow, drought, and the need for restrictions. Throughout this summer, we had 18 hoot owl restrictions, 8 closures, and those were in regions 2 through 4. Most of those hoot owl restrictions were about 40 to 50 days long. We did have water call on the Blackfoot, Rock Creek, Missouri at Toston, the Gallatin, the Shields, Marias below Tiber, Smith, the Yellowstone above Boulder, the Tobacco River, and Youngs Creek. These restrictions were similar to 2024. We had timely precipitation that helped prevent or delay restrictions in certain areas. And currently, most restrictions are lifted with the exception of the Big Hole Section 1 and the North Fork of the Blackfoot. Something else that's notable is that we worked with ComEd to have a news article in the most recent version of the fishing newsletter that came out October 1st, which covered tools used in water management. So if you haven't got a chance to read that, it's a great article. And finally, I just wanted to say thanks to all the teamwork and support this year, including by all of the commissioners here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Strainer, do you want to give us an update, please?
Yeah, good morning, Chair Robinson, members of the commission. As requested by Vice Chair Walsh, we were going to provide a kind of a 40,000 foot overview of the Southwest Montana trout studies. I'll kind of go through my spiel, and then at the end, we do have Region 3 Fisheries Manager Mike Duncan on the horn if there's specific questions or inquiries about the project. So without further ado, FWP is conducting multifaceted trout studies, particularly in Southwest Montana's Big Hole, Beaverhead, and Ruby Rivers, to address recent declines in adult fish populations by investigating fish recruitment, natural and angler-related fish mortality, river recreation, and fish health. We are pursuing the first 3 projects with our partners at Montana State, while the fish health study has been led by fish health program staff, also with direction from the Big Hole Fish Health Work Group. Key initiatives include a multi-year fish tagging program, a study on recruitment dynamics and the impacts of recreational use on the river systems, and a fish health monitoring effort using an angler reporting portal. While most of the work began on the Big Hole, Beaverhead, Ruby, and Madison Rivers, the river recreation study added the upper Yellowstone River to the mix this year. So brief update on each one of the projects. First, the recruitment study. This continues to provide great insight into tributaries that may serve as important sources of rainbow and brown trout for fish populations in the main stem rivers. The MSU graduate student recently completed the first round of otolith microchemistry, which will provide an additional amount of information on the natal origins of trout captured in the main stem rivers. Our hope is that the study will be able to identify specific environmental conditions, things like flow, water temperature, that FWP could potentially address to improve recruitment from individual tributaries where one CFS may make a huge difference in a tributary, whereas that amount would likely go unnoticed in the Big Hole River. Next, the adult mortality study. This study involves fish tagging efforts that most folks have probably heard about by now. anglers reported tags initially, angler reported tags initially increased this year, but fell behind expectations later in the summer and this fall. The research group is exploring potential explanations behind this decreased reporting, including lower catch rates because of poor fishing conditions, decreased angler hours because of restrictions and closures, non-reporting issues, or a combination of those or other factors. Nonetheless, the study is providing valuable information to help FWP better understand important factors contributing to adult mortality, including water temperatures, flows, angling, etc. We still need another year or two to have enough data to provide definitive results and are looking forward to continuing this study with our partners at MSU. Next, the river recreation study. The river recreation study, which was already in the works before FWP committed to additional studies in Southwest Montana, is providing great data on overall recreational use on rivers, not just angling pressure. For this study, MSU's efforts will help better position FWP to continue to conduct similar assessments moving forward to evaluate the extent of recreational use and its influence on river fisheries should FWP or a partner decide to pursue similar studies elsewhere in Montana. As we all saw during the 2025 legislative session, there is growing interest in learning about river recreation use beyond angling pressure. So this study will help inform some of those questions. And lastly, the fish health study. Additional fish health program capacity in the Dillon area has helped FWP respond more quickly to fish health calls and concerns. We've also taken a much more proactive approach to monitoring prevalence of head necrosis or tissue damage and fungal infections, which has allowed us to identify low rates in the trout population during sampling efforts, less than 1%. Results from this evaluation thus far indicate that initial fish population health concerns are not likely related to, for instance, a pathogen or an infection. However, FWP will continue to monitor fish health concerns as part of routine population assessment work or as issues are reported via the Sick Fish app. Fish health staff in the area did not receive many calls this summer or find many sick or dead fish during regular fish health study floats. Although we have not identified a pathogen or a cause of the infections, our work with the Big Hole Fish Health Work Group has shown some promising leads that could provide insight into or rule out potential causes. As with any research, we appreciate everyone's patience as we let science guide this effort, and we'd like to especially thank our partners at Montana State, those from the Big Hole Fish Health Work Group, and everyone who's returned information about a tag or reported a fish health concern. FWP remains vigilant as we continue to seek answers about concerning trout trends in prominent Southwest Montana rivers. With that, I'd stand for any questions, or we, as I stated earlier, have the Region 3 Fish Manager available too.
If you guys could try to raise your hand, that helps me to know if you have any questions. And I failed to ask if there were any questions on the drought update too. So Commissioner Brook.
Hi, Adam. Maybe this is a better question for Michelle, but do we still have a closure on the Upper Ruby, a spawning closure? Is that still in effect?
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Brook. So it's my understanding, without having the regs in front of me, so spawning closures went into place downstream of Ruby Reservoir. However, fishing is still open upstream of Ruby Reservoir. So yes, there is a spawning closure basically downstream in the section below Ruby Dam.
Okay, thank you.
I see that Michelle, you're on too. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, that's very accurate. I would just point to Mike Duncan to give any specifics.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Walsh.
Yeah, thanks so much for the updates. I was disappointed to read about the fish kill related to electrofishing over in the Big Hole, and I just hope you can comment on that.
Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Walsh. Yeah, thank you for that question. So electrofishing processes in general are more dynamic and complicated than I think a lot of folks understand. And so I just wanted to clarify, with electrofishing comes the process of, yes, we use electricity as a common survey tool, but with electricity, with electrofishing, there's also the process of condition changing, turbidity changing, fish handling methods. Many variables go into the success or, in sometimes, failure of electrofishing processes. What we saw our process down on the Big Hole here recently, once it was reported to the agency, we responded with floats of our own. We internally looked at our decision-making matrix. And at the time, we made the best decision possible to inform whether or not to do a survey or approve a survey down in that area. And we stand by that decision. Unfortunately, there are times, there is a portion of a lot of our surveys where mortality is a risk that we take for the larger picture of maintaining quality, scientific-backed, science-based surveys, but also, to ensure that we're doing everything we can to understand what's going on in the larger, and for this, in this instance, the Big Hole River. So we take risks associated with our surveys, and those are known risks. And in this case, we personally, as we went out to inspect after the survey, we maybe saw a little bit of mortality, but in large part, what was reported was slightly different than what we observed.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you for that report. All right, we're gonna, Deb, if you wouldn't mind giving us a pheasant program informational update, please.
Good morning, Chair Robinson, Vice Chair Walsh, and Commissioners. Deb O'Neill, I'm the Special Projects Administrator here for FWP. And today I'm here before you to continue our commitment to providing you information on the Roosters for Recruitment program. I came before you in 2022 to ask approval for these releases, and you asked me as a commission body to continue to keep you updated on the program and the results that we're seeing on the ground. I want to start out by saying, Commissioner Brook did go on that tour yesterday. We had several NGOs represented. I think there were about 6 NGOs represented that on the tour as well. We had a non-legislative member of EQC attend, and a member of the Legislative Fiscal Division come with us as well, and then FWP staff, and of course the Montana Correctional Enterprises staff there as well to lead the tour for us. And it went really, really well. I think everybody was impressed with what goes into, like Commissioner Brooks said at the very beginning of this meeting, what goes into producing a pheasant from an egg at this facility. And I encourage you all to maybe set another time where we could take you out there, because I think it's very impressive to see on the ground and all the people that are involved in this, from egg to roosters on the ground. I'm going to walk you through the report. I'm not going to read the report to you. You have it in front of you, but I will just hit a couple highlights on the report, and then of course take questions at the end. So this report is for last year. We already started our releases for this year, but this is all for last year and previous years. Last year, we released about 14,000 pheasants on the ground, and that was an increase of about 3,500 from the year before. And we released them on FWP land as well as DNRC properties. As you know, that the EA that I brought before you in 2022, we could only release on state-owned land, and that's what we're continuing to do. And we engaged DNRC for some additional help last year to get more areas to put pheasants on. You'll see some of the photos that we have in the report. Kids love this program, helping release the birds. In addition to our staff, our bios, and our wardens and ComEd staff that go out and release pheasants, We also engage our staff, our other staff at FWP, and we have a lot of volunteers all across the state going out on these pheasant releases, and they really seem to enjoy it. They volunteer to go out on these releases, and it's a lot of fun. But we do also have scout groups. We've had field trips with kids coming out, as you could see in the photos. Some people bring their kids, some FWP staff bring their children, and it's a whole lot of fun for staff to see the kids really enjoying this. We didn't have any events prior to the youth hunt last year, unfortunately. It was just staff capacity. We just weren't able to pull it together. But we are committing to do that. We did it this year, and we will continue to commit to do that in future years. It's really hit or miss with these events. You know, as you know, even with meetings that we have, you know, you get a couple people that are really interested, but you might not have a whole lot of people attend meetings. And that's the same with the youth events. You know, the kids that do come, they're really successful and they really have a lot of fun, but it's really, you know, competition with other activities that kids have nowadays. So we're going to do our best to really engage going forward and come up with unique, different ways to get kids to attend these events. And we did have quite a few kids attend the events that we did have this year, so that was good news. As with previous years, we did send out a survey last year. We didn't follow up with a survey directly after the youth hunt, and that definitely showed up in our survey results. We didn't send out a survey until after, well after the youth hunt weekend. And you'll see on page 4, the survey results start, that we didn't have a whole lot of responses that were really useful to us in terms of, are we recruiting youth? We did have about 2,300 people respond to the survey, but not a whole lot actually hunted on areas where we release pheasants, and that was our target. A total of 848 did hunt pheasants on release sites, but only because a lot of youth don't use their own email for the survey, parents use their emails, we're not sure that we captured a whole lot of youth. We know we had 4 youth respond to the survey. That's not a whole lot to be able to make any determination on. But there might have been more that parents were answering for their children, and we might need to ask the questions a little bit differently in the future to make sure that we're getting the youth answering that survey. Overall, the satisfaction was good for those people who did hunt on, and there's our tables toward the end of that report that will show you the satisfaction rate, and that's on page 11 of the report. And so overall, it was a perfect bell curve from dissatisfied to satisfied, with the majority being right smack dab in the middle. But we did see 5 themes come up from the survey, and those are highlighted on page 5. Hunter density and crowding, we hear that all the time throughout all different species, but we know that there might be more crowding on pheasant release sites, so that came up in the survey results. Also, habitat quality, not necessarily it being bad, but hunters liking that we're releasing pheasants in an area where the habitat is suitable. And then the other end of the spectrum is that some hunters were thinking that we weren't picking quality sites for these pheasant releases. Another theme that came up, there's nothing that FWP really can do anything about, and that's the participation and site use. These were basically issues identified from hunters saying that they don't have time to hunt, or the sites are too far away. And that's one of the things we could do something about, maybe identify more sites in more areas, either closer to population centers or in rural areas where hunters really don't have the ability to travel far. So we can be proactive in maybe identifying different sites, but we can't do anything about the time that hunters don't seem to have to get out. Bird quality was another theme. In some areas, hunters said that they saw a lot of hens and not enough roosters. Of course, when we raise pheasants, it's about a 50-50 ratio. And there was some skepticism about survival of the pheasants. And as you know, this is not an augmentation program, but it is really an opportunity program to increase hunter opportunity, not an augmentation program. But we do still try to release pheasants in areas of good habitat. And then the last theme that came up was release information. Hunters were requesting that we post the sites that they're going to be released and the dates that they're going to be released. In response to that, in 2023, we did try to do that, and we did post the days that pheasants were being released. And unfortunately, the crowding was pretty bad at those sites, and hunters were actually waiting for the trailers in some areas for the pheasants to be released. And that's not what we wanted to present to them. So we removed those dates and times from the website, and now we only post the sites without posting the days. We will be posting, and Stevie can speak to this after, but we will be posting at the end of the day after they're released, we will be posting the sites, but we're not doing it ahead of time for safety and ethical concerns. Let's see. On page 6, as you recall, the legislature in 2021 appropriated or approved us to spend up to $1 million per year on pheasant production and release. That was House Bill 637. And you see in table 2 there, the first 2 years, obviously, when we were getting the infrastructure at the prison and ramping up production of the pheasants, that's when we spent the most money. And you see in fiscal year 24 and 25, we're really slowing down the spending. Obviously, we have expenses every year for food, and that's a really big expense, and prison staff time. But we really are cutting our spending pretty much in half now. The pheasant production is going up as we anticipated. You'll see in pages 6 and 7 the number of pheasants released and the cost per bird, which is always a big question from the public and from officials. They want to know that cost per bird. And it is continuing to decrease over the years as we're ramping up production of birds and as we're reducing our spending. So we anticipate this year it'll be about $33 per bird released, not per bird hatched. We do have some losses in the prison, of course, and they also retain birds for brood stock for the next year, the breeding year. Looking forward, we're going to release about 18,000 birds this year. So we're still increasing. The limiting factor for increasing production in previous years was incubator space. We just didn't have enough space in our incubators to raise enough eggs to hatching. And now we have new incubators out at the prison. They're fabulous, they're working well, and we still have our old incubators for use or for backup. And the limiting factor right now is flight pens. They can hold, how many birds can they hold in?
1,000 to 1,200 each.
And how many in the prison right now?
We've got 28.
So we have 28 flight pens at the prison, and there are the flight pens can hold about 1,200 birds apiece. But that's still a limiting factor. And so we decided a few years ago to start exploring putting flight pens in eastern Montana. And we have in Miles City, there's a Pine Hills Correctional Facility out there. And the prison has constructed 4 flight pens out there with 4 more planning to be built next year. And that is that's helping us all around. So now we not only have more space for the adult birds or the birds right before they're released, but we also have the ability to hold these birds in eastern Montana, and that reduces staff time from driving them from Deer Lodge to regions 7 and 6. It reduces staff time, the time that the birds spend in the trailer, and we could keep them, and reduces their stress, of course, levels. So we could keep them out in Miles City and use that as a transportation hub to regions 6 and 7 particularly. We want to bring the birds out at about 6 weeks of age, so we'll do that next year. We didn't get the birds out there that when they were young this year because they were still constructing the flight pens. They need to train inmates there to how to raise the birds and take care of the birds. And then also we were waiting for the biosecurity plan to be updated to get birds out to Miles City. We need to include that facility in the biosecurity plan. So we don't have birds out there right now. We're hoping we will get them out there this year still, but we might not, and we will have to use Deer Lodge as that transportation hub and continue to use that as a transportation hub. The last bit of good news, you'll see on page 8, table 5, that license sales, upland game bird license sales have been increasing since we started the Roosters for Recruitment program. Now, we can't necessarily tie it to the Roosters for Recruitment program, unfortunately, and that's why we have to develop maybe different survey tools or different questions in our survey to really tease out what is causing this increase in license sales. I'm very hopeful, especially with the youth license sales, that they're increasing because of the Roosters for Recruitment program, but we can't really tie it to that right now, unfortunately. Before I stand for questions, I just want to say that, I want to say that Lena Havron, our CFO, is on to answer any questions that you might have about any of the dollars associated with this program. She's the one to ask those questions to. I'll do my best, but I'll ask your permission to defer to her. Stevie Burton, who is here, she's a project specialist, and she's in my office. That's who I was turning to occasionally. She took on this program in 2023 and really did great things with this program. Without her, I didn't have the capacity to do this, and she really turned this program into something fantastic. And she's here to answer any questions that you might have. And then also on is Ross Wagner. He oversees MCE, including the pheasant program. And I encourage you to just directly ask him questions or ask him to give you maybe an update on the prison side of things, because he really has done great things out there with his staff and the inmates out there. The inmates really love this program, and he could share with you more about that if you're interested. But he really turned this program into something quite awesome at the prison. And like I said, I will stand for questions now, and with your permission, I might have to defer to one of those 3 folks.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Brooke, I'm going to give you the opportunity first before questions if you want to add anything, since you did go on the tour.
Yes, I did. And just a shout out to Ross, a pretty incredible program that they have there. And it was just very impressive. They got some tough questions from the public, especially some people that were worried about the viruses that could be introduced or exchanged there. So a lot of tough questions. It was great. Kind of a follow-up question maybe to Ross. I thought there was a mention of the Montana Women's Correctional Facility being involved in this, but I didn't see it in the report anywhere. Is that on the table?
Good morning. Yes, that is the table. We're in the process right now of getting 10 to 12 female inmates from the women's prison transferred out to Pine Hills. So there will be women in the pheasant program out there, and the males will be in Deer Lodge.
Okay, thanks, Ross. A follow-up. So will they be out there for 5 weeks, just like the last year's group of men from Deer Lodge?
They will be there full time.
Oh,
They'll be actually, once they get moved. Our goal was October 1st is what DOC was trying to get them out by. I talked to our director yesterday, and he is pushing that along a little, although we're 8 days late on that. But I would see in the next couple of weeks that the females will be out there, and then they will be housed there full time until release or depending on movement on the DOC side.
okay. Thank you, Ross. Thank you very much for the tour. It was great. You guys did an awesome job.
Thank you for coming.
All right, did any of the commissioners have any questions? Let me see who has their hand up. Oh, Commissioner Wargo.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Deb, I got a quick question for you. I had some constituents reach out. I was just kind of curious as far as these release sites. I know one of the ones in Kalispell, there's a ag lease on that land, and it sounds like I don't know how common that is across the state that these release sites actually have ag operations taking place, but it sounded like there was maybe some desire from Pheasants Forever or some of these other folks to try to kind of look at those ag leases, maybe to really try to tailor them to habitat and enhancement versus ag production, low cost. I don't know if you're the right person to speak to that, or is that something that could be looked at in the future to maybe enhance this program?
That's Chair Robinson, Commissioner Wargo. That's a really good question. We do release pheasants on areas that have ag leases. We've used DNRC sites last year, and unfortunately, those sites, when it came time to release pheasants, they looked great when we identified the site, and when it came time to release pheasants, they were basically harvested and not great. That's something that we could look at, I think, in the future. But of course, we want to make sure that the ag producers are getting what they need out of the lease, and this would be probably secondary. We don't want to, we don't want to ask them to take on any additional burden by producing habitat for our pheasants. This would probably be a secondary thing. Those that are willing, I think we could work with.
Quick follow-up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess on that, I think the sentiment was maybe trying to, pull in a third party that could, maybe put some cash flow, into the program to try to offset some of the, burden that would come with enhancing some of that habitat. So it was just something that somebody reached out to me on, and I thought it was maybe a worthwhile comment, because I'm sure if there's a greater ability to hold those birds at the release site and there's better habitat there, it's probably going to, result in better outcomes versus just, pretty quick dispersion.
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Wargo, thank you for the comment, and we'll discuss it.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? All right, well, thank you for the report. It was very interesting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Do you guys want to take a short break now or wait till after the mule deer update?
I could go for a quick break.
Okay, what time is it? Okay, let's try for a 5-minute break, and we'll come back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just need one more and then we'll get started. We're just waiting on Vice Chair Brian, and then I'll let you get started. There we go. All right, go ahead, Brian, if you'd like to start on the mule deer plan information update, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. I'm Brian Wakeling. I'm the Game Management Bureau Chief here at the Fish, Wildlife and Parks. As you all are probably very keenly aware, there's been an awful lot of work going on recently that involves not only the mule deer plan project that's been going on for a little over a year. There's also ongoing work regarding biennial season setting, which is going to come before the commission in December. Because both those processes are going on simultaneously, and there's certainly an awful lot of opportunity for overlap between the two. In discussions, we've kind of thought that it might be useful for the commission to hear, and also for members of the public to help them understand, what's going on. How does one inform the other? How much overlap there might be? And so we wanted to put together a presentation for the commission and share it with you this morning. And so what we've got is it's a short PowerPoint presentation. First, I'd like to introduce Adam Koth. Adam is our deer elk coordinator. He'll go over the first part of the presentation, and then we'll shift into just a few slides on biennial season setting. And so we're trying to kind of compare and contrast those two different processes and help everybody understand how it's working. With that, I'll turn it over to Adam and the slides.
Looks like we're ready to go. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I guess it's a good opportunity to formally introduce myself to those who I haven't met yet. My name is Adam Koth. I'm in the role as the deer and elk coordinator. I'm based out of Helena. And I'm just going to provide a quick update on development of the new statewide mule deer management plan, like Brian said. Next slide. So a quick overview on the early stages of the plan involving the Mule Deer Citizen Advisory Committee, or CAC, and really the public engagement that followed that process. In early 2024, the CAC group developed guiding principles intended to provide early stakeholder direction for the plan. Between May and June of that year, the committee met 3 times. During those meetings, they developed a clear statement and outlined 48 guiding principles. Afterwards, we opened it up for a 30-day public comment period to gather public feedback on the CAC's product and received 170 comments. Next slide. So working from the product developed by the CAC, we continued our stakeholder participation for the plan in the spring of 2025. In May, we hosted 7 public open house meetings, 1 at each regional office. These meetings focused on gathering stakeholder input on mule deer management strategies, and they gave us a chance to hear directly from hunters, landowners, and other stakeholders about what they value and what concerns they have regarding mule deer. And overall, we had a little over 100 folks turn out for those meetings in May. We also opened a public comment period for folks who couldn't attend those open houses. Here we received approximately 500 comments, which demonstrates a pretty strong level of public interest and engagement in the planning process. In June and July, we also held scoping for season setting, which in part included more stakeholder discussions on mule deer with our area biologists and regional managers. Next slide. So as we've moved into drafting the new mule deer management plan, we've kind of approached the development into 2 main parts. Part 1 is the management framework, and this part includes various sections relevant to FWP's responsibilities, as well as some of the management challenges and principles that go into mule deer management and conservation in the state. Part 2 is kind of our guidance report, and this part includes hunting district level information, including population and hunter harvest survey data that goes into informing management recommendations. And overall, the intent of the plan is to be durable, have some longevity, and be more of a comprehensive document that we build off of based on the current AHM plan or adaptive harvest management plan, providing the agency with new science and further guidance on mule deer management as we go forward. Next slide. So the statewide management framework in part 1 of this plan that we're developing, we've been kind of looking at this from the 3 core principles that we emphasized during the May meetings that we had this year during those open house meetings with the public. And that talking about habitat management, health management, harvest management. Within those principles include various topics of conversation from our various habitat programs to disease management, particularly with respect to CWD, to various harvest management factors that go into season setting. And again, our intent here is to provide a more comprehensive document regarding these management principles, including the tools that we have for managing mule deer in the state, as well as what some of the trade-offs that might occur with certain management strategies. Next slide. And this slide just emphasizes that FWP has several programs and divisions that directly support mule deer management and conservation. Together, these programs really form the foundation for our management efforts across the state, and thus their importance as the plan comes together. Next slide. Again, part 2 is designed to provide hunting district information such as hunter harvest and population data, something that we get from our trend areas and our hunter surveys that we do each year, and something that can be referenced to and updated on a continual basis after the plan is completed. Next slide. So going forward, we're looking to have a draft of the mule deer management plan completed by early 2026. Over the next couple of months, we'll have FWP staff reviewing the draft plan. Once the draft is ready, we'll initiate an environmental assessment or EA as part of our MEPA process. And this will include public scoping with multiple other opportunities for public feedback on the draft plan. Overall, our goal is to finalize the plan by the fall winter of 2026, which would then inform the 2027 biennial season setting process. And with that, I'll hand it back to Brian.
Thanks, Adam. So, the plan itself is largely designed to give the department guidance. It's designed to let the public know what that design is and what that guidance is. It in no way restricts commission decisions. It doesn't limit where the commission can choose to go, but it's a transparent guide that we will use to basically lay out the suite of tools that we have available to use to achieve the objectives that we've identified within that plan. It's intended to, as we've said throughout this, to be transparent and to help that be, it's guidance for the agency. It helps to identify to the commission and the public why the department is making the recommendations that we do, but in no way ties the hands of the commission in any decision they may choose to make. But a lot of the questions we get as we go through this is, gosh, you've got biennial season setting going on now. You've been taking comments. How do they inform one another? Can I get the next slide, Garrett? So the steps we've taken with up to this point with the season setting, and there was an article that ran this last winter within Montana Outdoors called Reconstructing the Regulations. And a lot of these steps were outlined there. But leading up to April, we kind of go through a phase of what I call idea harvesting. As we're going around the state, we our biologists on a day-to-day basis are having conversations at gas pumps and grocery stores, and ideas are shared all the time. And so what we're trying to do is capture the good ones, the ones we think have merit, and then we put that together during April and May, and we kind of formalize our concepts that we're thinking about for the current year. And so June and July is when we have those scoping meetings at that point in time, and we share the ideas that we have, saying, hey, this is what we're thinking about. Do you support that? Do you not support that? Would you like to see us do something different? And so we take that around the state. This year we held 30 different meetings there. And we're kind of in the final phases currently of trying to develop all the proposals that come from that. Once we get through formalizing that, making sure that it conforms with all our legal requirements, making sure that it's consistent with former commission direction, legislative direction, then we will post those proposals, and that will be the formal comment period. Although we've had a lot of input up to that point, that's where we finally get the formal response to what we're doing now. And during late October and early November, we're going to hold 7 virtual meetings, and there may be additional meetings held in each of the regions, whereby we will provide the public with an opportunity, once they've seen the proposals, to ask questions. What were you thinking when you did this? How could you possibly think of that? Or we really like this, or whatever. And what that's designed to do is help the public make an informed comment to the commission, and then they will use the 2 approaches that Director Clark mentioned earlier to try and provide input to the commission that they can use, that you can use when you make your decision on December 4th. Can I get the next slide, please? So there's shared components, as I mentioned. There's public input, and if we're at a season setting meeting, or if we're at a scoping meeting for the adaptive harvest, or for the management plan, the mule deer management plan, any of the information that we get can help us inform as we go forward. We may hear something at one of the deer meetings that we said, gosh, why didn't we think of that earlier? And so then we go ahead and can fit that in. There's nothing that makes it exclusive one to the other. But as we evaluate those things, we use current or previous guidance documents to help us shape our recommendations. So, there's some things that we think are genius, and there's legal constraints that keep us from going there. And there's certainly federal influences on some of the things that we can do that help us develop our recommendations. There's also information that we've gleaned from, legislative action. I mean, as we go through that, there's been debate that went on. We often hear legislators talk about legislative intent, and so we try to consider that. There's resolutions there's passed, and there's certainly statutes we have to comply with. We also look at what prior commission actions have occurred, and we try to use that to help us inform what's going forward as well. And of course, we also listen to the public input. All of the input that we get can either help us develop a proposal, or they may help us change what we're going to put into the plan. And next slide, please. So a little bit about the duration. We use the input to inform both processes, but it's important to remember that season setting is a relatively short-term process. You know, it's designed to be a 2-year period. We can certainly come back on an annual basis for certain aspects of it. And some things, just as we are today, a little bit later, we're going to come back with an out-of-cycle recommendation to kind of change things should we need to do so. We also have things like quota ranges that allow the department to be responsive between actual commission actions. Those are the ranges that the commission has delegated to the department the authority to adjust. And we do that on an annual basis. Plans, on the other hand, are intended to be long-term, and they're definitely intended to be reviewed, but it tends to be a review that happens with a little bit more time in between. And we use those tools that are identified within there to help us guide agency recommendations. But we have to recognize that the recommendations that we're formulating for this season setting, the conditions may be very different 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 8 years from now than what they are today. And so those may change, and we have to build into the plan the flexibility to accommodate those conditions that may come down further down the pike. I think we have one more slide on questions. We'll be glad to entertain any questions the commission may have regarding those two processes.
I guess not to put you on the spot, Commissioner Wargo, but you're the new one. So I guess if I would make sure you don't have any questions. I see you have your hand raised. So
yeah, I'm not afraid to talk. They all know that. Thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to reach out, and I mean, I was involved in the Mule Deer CAC and whatnot. I just wanted to give the department some kudos on the public engagement process. I think the transparency is getting a lot better with the department. I was really appreciative of that Montana Outdoors article. You know, I encourage folks that are interested in learning a little bit more on the process to go back in and read that article. I think Brian said it was reconstructing the regulations. It was a really helpful roadmap to kind of explain the overall process. As somebody that kind of came up through the ranks, you know, trying to, you know, just show up at meetings and whatnot, it's difficult to get engaged in the process and understand all the steps appropriately. So I think the department's starting to do a lot better job on that engagement front and public interaction. I know the email correspondence has gotten, you know, way better to notify staff. I've said this, you know, I've made this recommendation a little bit offline, but I'd love to see a get engaged or get involved tab on the website that just has kind of that roadmap resource available to people to kind of explain the different processes along the way, the management plans, the season settings, et cetera, role of the legislature. And then, I mean, at some point, it sounds like it might be in the works at some point, but you know, kind of a department/commission calendar to give folks a heads up on when some of these meetings might be coming up. But overall, I think the process is getting way better, and I just want to give the department kudos on that. So thanks.
thank you. I think another thing too is sometimes the confusion of how the commission and the agency, what the different roles are too, that it's not our place to tell you guys what you're going to recommend to us. It's our job to look at what your recommendations are and then make amendments if we so see fit. So sometimes I think there is confusion on that.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could, one thing that I'd like to point out, you know, a lot of people take offense when some of the department's recommendations get amended. You know, oftentimes you hear people make the statement that science should dictate the answer. And one of the things I'm fond of pointing out is that science typically demonstrates what our sideboards are, how far we can go in either direction, but there's an awful lot of social element within there. And that the department's job is to provide the best recommendation we can. And we want to be here as a resource if you have questions as you make that final decision. But, you know, there's a lot of flexibility within the science.
I can't remember the quote for sure that I read before, but there is more science than just biological science, including social science. So even when we do make amendments, we are following science, but not the one biological science. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for that update. That was helpful. Okay, we can move into the chronic wasting disease arm rule amendment, please. And I guess I don't know if legal is on today too, but I think probably this is Ian's first arm rule, and sometimes that gets confusing too. So in the presentation, if you could kind of give if you weren't planning already, just to kind of give how that works for the commission.
Absolutely, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Again, Brian Lakeland. And what I'll do is give a real quick overview, and Kevin Reckoff is here, and so if you choose to skip something critical, he'll keep me on the straight and narrow and re-inform. So what we have with our ARM rules is they follow Montana's Administrative Procedures Act. And so what that entails for the commission is basically a couple of visits here. One, we often visit with the commission to kind of start the process, kind of talk about what we're doing. We share the information about what it is that we're liking, we think needs to be amended within existing rule. And then the process is largely dictated by the Secretary of State's office. They oversee the Montana Administrative Procedures Act. And so there's a whole process that it goes through with hearings, comment, all of the steps that are going there. The timelines are dictated, when we can actually do it. All of that's part of that whole process. Once that is concluded, then it comes back to the commission, and the commission has the option at that point in time to either accept or reject the proposal as we put it forth. Kevin, I don't know if there's anything you'd add.
No, Madam Chairman, members of the commission, I think Brian's going to take my job. That was pretty comprehensive. Yeah, Commissioner Wargo, for background knowledge, that's the process, the two-step process, and we have luckily both sides of it here actually in this commission meeting today, with the wildlife proposal and then with parks proposal coming later. So this is sort of the phase one. If the commission moves forward with this proposal, there will be the MAP process to follow with a separate hearing, a separate comment period, and then it'll come back to the commission subsequently for adoption or rejection.
So with that, the arm that we have before you, that we're asking you to initiate things with, is 12/6/10/15, and this one deals with identifying those states that are currently CWD positive. The reason that's important is because other statutes and other arms reference this identification that deals with things like, can a animal be imported from a state that's CWD positive? And so it's important for us to maintain this rule as current as possible. What we've done in the past is simply identify and enumerate the states and provinces where we know there's a CWD positive situation. The challenge that comes with that is that CWD doesn't wait for a particular time of year in order to come up on the radar and say, hey, another state just became CWD positive. So what we are proposing within this particular rule is to reference a USDS website that maintains and monitors where CWD positives are. By using that reference, this becomes a rule that is, again, a more durable rule. It's more real time. And so that's what our proposal is today. And what we're asking the commission at this point in time is to approve the request to initiate rulemaking and move forward with the MAPA process at this time.
Okay. Any questions? Go ahead.
I'd move that the Fish Wildlife Commission approve the request to initiate rulemaking to amend 12.6.10.15 as presented by the department.
Second.
Yeah, I'm going to take Commissioner Lane there for the second. Commissioner Burrows was the first. Okay. Any questions before I go out to public comment? Okay, I'm going to ask the regions if there is anyone in the regional offices who would like to speak to this motion. And if you are an attendee and would like to speak to it, please raise your hand so I know if we have anybody who wants to speak. Okay, I am not seeing hands nor the regional offices. Okay. All those, any questions before I go to a vote? Oh, I do have one attendee with their hand raised. Okay, Kevin, our time limit for comments is 2 minutes, just a reminder for everybody today.
Yeah, of course. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Great. Chair Robinson, commissioners, my name is Kevin Farron. I'm calling today on behalf of the Montana Wildlife Federation, our state's oldest and largest hunter and angler-based conservation group. Simply put, we support this common sense update to the administrative rules. This change allows the department's policy to reflect the most up-to-date statuses and best science available and what's, what Mr. Wakeling just said is a changing landscape of CWD detection and outbreaks. We certainly appreciate the ongoing and action-oriented responses from FWP on CWD monitoring and management. And we just ask that you guys approve the proposal to initiate rulemaking. Really appreciate the work here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I do not see any other hands raised. I'll give just a couple seconds here. Okay. All
Madam
right.
Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Brooke.
Just a quick question, Brian. I was looking at the USGS map, and this isn't related to the motion, but what is the CWD in captive facilities? I see Montana has a dot. What is that?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Brooke, I'm not looking at it right at the moment, so I'm not sure that I can respond to that. It's certainly something I can look at, and I can certainly get an answer to you.
Okay.
I would have guessed it's a quarantine facility for the park.
Yeah, Commissioner, Madam Chair, I see Mr. Kilbreth has just come on. I suspect he may have an answer for you.
Okay. I guess that would be brucellosis anyway, so.
It looks like it's your county.
Oh, my county?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I think I can help answer that question. I'm Phil Kilbreth. I'm the operations captain at Fish, Wildlife and Parks, and one of the hats I wear is our commercial wildlife manager. I believe that the incidences they're referring to on that map are we've had several times in the past where CWD has been detected in alternative livestock ranches, and alternative livestock ranch would be a place where there's captive cervids being treated as kind of a livestock, so being raised for meat or urine or something like that. That I'm sure.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Also, I believe Quentin might have something to add.
Okay, go ahead.
Chair and other members of the commission, director, just what wanted to add, it came up a couple times in an indirect way, but to confirm, that authority is Department of Livestock. That is to say the authority over game farm operations, domestic livestock elk. Chair, members of the commission.
Do we have any game farms left in Montana that haven't been grandfathered in? I mean,
Yes. There are active operations.
not in Phillips County that I know of.
And we don't have a map. If you wanted to see those, again, we could reach out to Department of Livestock and confirm those locations if the commission wanted to see that. Again, as an alternative livestock facility, it's we do have a partnership with them, a relationship as far as inspections of facilities, but the authority for the testing and whatnot is with Department of Livestock. Just wanted to make that clear. Again, as alternative livestock facilities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, Brian, if you wouldn't mind jumping into the EHD and Blue Tongue potential adjustments, please.
You bet. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Again, Brian Wakeling, Team Chief. The proposal we have before you today is in the department's effort to address an ongoing disease outbreak. The disease is commonly referred to EHD, BTV. EHD is episodic hemorrhagic disease. BTV, blue tongue virus. Both are viruses. They are both hemorrhagic diseases. What that means is what happens when these animals contract this virus is they wind up dying through hemorrhaging, internal bleeding. And so it's a rapid onset. You routinely, couple of weeks, you don't routinely see animals displaying symptoms unless they're in the late stages of that disease development. And then death is pretty rapid. When it does occur, it can be extremely difficult to get a viable sample to be able to culture it and confirm that that's actually what killed the animal. However, it's very characteristic, and it's not entirely uncommon. We typically see some level of EHD and blue tongue, some of these hemorrhagic diseases every year. The virus is spread through biting midges, biting little small flies. One of the common ones is the culicoides, and what it happens is it breeds in an area where it's damp. The insects, that's why you typically see these outbreaks occur along rivers and also in wetlands, other waterways, things of that nature. You get in a situation, and especially start to see this in situations where temperatures are above average for an extended period of time. And so those are some of the conditions we've seen this year. Fortunately, within the last week, we've started to see some hard frost. There's some forecast for the next couple of weeks, and then again, we're moving towards winter, and so we would expect a more routine winter pattern. When that happens, those vectors that cause and carry that disease they die and the problem goes away for, when I say the problem goes away, the disease is no longer spreading. The problem that exists, though, is that we do have sometimes significant die-offs that occur, but it tends to be really patchy. It's not something that happens across a wide landscape routinely. Routinely, what happens is you'll have localized patches within the distribution, and so at times you can have a lot of animals die. You know, you described a landowner mentioning 60 animals die. 2 miles away, there may not have been any animals die. And so it tends to be real sporadic, real patchy. The other thing is it tends to affect white-tailed deer more than other species. And the reason for that is where those animals tend to live. If you think about the landscape that our wildlife occupy, routinely, you'll find white-tailed deer in those wet bottoms more frequently than what you do other species. We certainly do have antelope that succumb to it. We certainly do have mule deer that succumb to it. But the frequency of occurrence is substantially less than what we see in whitetail. Whitetail tend to take the brunt of it. The other reason that we often see a number of whitetails is whitetails can be very abundant within those areas. And so we will, if you have a localized outbreak, it can influence and affect a lot of the whitetails all at once. So what we've put together, there's a map within the package and the cover sheet that went out to everybody on our website that kind of demonstrates the distribution of what we've seen within the state so far. Certainly, there's been a couple of other detections of what we assume to be one of those hemorrhagic diseases that come in. This also, the slide you see right now, actually, not only the slide that went out in the public had the hunting districts. This one also has the counties on it for reference, where we've seen this. And so we've seen a little bit of the outbreak. We've seen a couple more cases, a little bit more in Region 5, a little bit more in Region 2. But again, most of it is patchy, sporadic, and we're not seeing any additional what I would consider widespread conditions. And so the department, looking at what we've seen in the past and what we expect to occur, the department's recommending that within Region 6, which seems to be the place where we're seeing more of this than elsewhere, we're certainly seeing it in places we've never seen before, but we're not seeing it at a level that's a concern to a population from a biological standpoint. And so what we're recommending is that within Region 6, because there exists the possibility to purchase up to 3 whitetail tags, what we're recommending is that from this point forward, we just limit it and allow hunters to buy no more than 1. What that would allow them to do is change their behavior. They can redistribute themselves. They don't, if they're hunting in a place where abundance is low, they can choose to go elsewhere. And we do not anticipate that we're going to have a biological effect on the whitetail population going forward as a result of maintaining that level of opportunity. With that, that kind of concludes the remarks I had prepared. There's certainly, we have our biologists within the various regions who are our wildlife managers who are available. If there's any specific questions, but I'll leave it at that for now.
I guess I will start out just because it's Region 6, but so if this motion, I'm just going to start with the motion. Actually, I'll make the motion that Fish and Wildlife Commission approve the proposal to limit future sales of the 006-00B license to 1 person and eliminate the opportunity for an individual to purchase a second or a third 006-00 white-tailed deer B license beginning on October 10th as presented by the department.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Lyon, thank you. I have a few questions. So this would eliminate the chance for any kind of surplus tags or not? I mean, could you explain? And the reason I'm asking this too is I kind of want to dive into the mule deer too, because our mule deer are just starting to come back. And by lowering these tags, I want to kind of dive into what it's going to do to the mule deer also when they don't have the opportunity with the whitetail. And I'm putting a bunch out here, but we still have in place, am I correct that we still have in place that the B licenses for mule deer cannot be hunted on public land in region 6 and 7? Is that still?
Madam Chair, that is correct.
Okay. So surplus tags, can you kind of just talk about that with how surplus deer tags work in general, the B tags?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Again, Emily Cooper, our licensing chief, is on the line. So if I go awry, she can certainly straighten me out. But essentially, when you have an over-the-counter license, all a hunter would have to do is stop in or go online and acquire a license. When there are limitations on the number that can be purchased, that hunter can purchase up to that number of licenses. So in this case, the 00600 B license, currently a hunter can go in and purchase up to 3. There have been some people who have purchased that already this year within the alternatives and analysis section of the cover sheet. Currently, we've sold 1,172 licenses. 148 individuals have bought 2 licenses and 124 have bought 3. Certainly, that was the data we had on September 30th. There may have been some additional purchases since then, but comparing that to historical averages, in previous years, 682 had bought 2 and 372 had bought 3. And so this would limit that, and we wouldn't see that number being purchased going forward.
Okay, but how do the surplus tags work?
And so surplus is, there are, depending upon which applications you're looking at, some, if there are leftover tags when you've applied for a draw, so if they're limited by draw, then any that are left over, so long as it's not a first and only choice. If it's first and only choice, then it can't go to surplus. But if there is other licenses you've applied for and there are leftover tags, those may be acquired through the surplus process.
Okay. So as far as whitetail or a mule deer, and you probably don't have these statistics, I should have gave you a heads up, but, and I know we're not talking about the B licenses, but, region 6, you might be able to help me with this too. On whitetail and mule deer, what kind of surplus tags were released last year?
Scott, are you?
And Chair, if I may interrupt, if the region, certainly the region's a resource here, but Emily Cooper with the Licensing Bureau is also online and she may be able to help some of those sorts of questions, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah, Chair Robinson, members of the commission, this is Scott Thompson. I'm Region 6 Wildlife Manager. If I understand the question, Chair Robinson, how many mule deer surplus were issued or were available in which year? Could you clarify?
Last year.
In 2024.
Yep.
I don't know that I have that number right. I don't know if Ms. Cooper maybe has that, but in the last few years, we've reduced numbers of B licenses. And last year's surplus, I want to say there was 2 to 3 districts that had some limited surplus that, probably numbers less than 1,000 would be my suspicion, but I don't have those numbers right in front of me.
Okay. What, could you refresh my memory, Scott or Emily, of how many mule deer bee licenses are available in this area that we're wanting to lower the whitetail licenses availability?
Chair Robinson, so the whitetail license is valid region-wide.
Okay.
And so are you interested in, if you're interested in how many mule deer across the region, that total, I believe is somewhere around, it's under 2,000, I believe at this point, or somewhere in that neighborhood, which is the lowest amount on a quota range.
Okay. So I don't have my maps in front of me, and I cleaned my office, and I don't have the books available for the map. But as far as the Milk River Valley, how many different mule deer hunting regions is that broke into?
Chair Robinson, I think if I could, I'll focus on the area that we're seeing the hemorrhagic disease and where it overlaps with hunting districts. And that includes portions of, again, mainly along the Milk River of districts 600, 690, 670, 620, and 630.
Okay. Are all of those the same as far as how many mule deer bee licenses are available in those that you just listed?
Yeah, mule deer licenses and bee licenses available there are fairly minimal south of Highway 2. So in District 620, 630, and 690, it ranges between 1 and I think it's 250 in 690. And then north of Highway 2, 670, we have just 100 and 600.
Per person is what I'm asking.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes.
We did get some information in the 600-01. That's a mule deer in Region 6. There were 130 issued through surplus this year. There were 500 to start at the beginning of the drawing. Last year, there were 154 were issued through surplus.
Okay.
Chair?
Yes.
This is Quentin chiming in. This may be a little bit off point, but just for clarification, moving to the 2025, the current season, of the licenses that went surplus, there is only one batch. I would look for licensing to keep me on the straight and narrow. There is only one batch that still has ongoing surplus sales.
Okay.
In all the other instances, the surpluses have gone out the door entirely. So again, just one LPT remains still selling surplus.
Okay. So we don't really have any thing that we could do to minimize the mule deer if we do this. I'm totally in support of this. I'm just afraid of the pressure being reverted over to the mule deer. Is there anything that could be done to help that?
Madam Chair, by reducing the opportunity on the whitetails, because most of the other licenses have already been issued, with the one exception of the one that still has some surplus left over that Quentin mentioned, there really wouldn't be the ability of hunters to really switch to mule deer. That opportunity is predominantly consistent with what the department recommended and the commission adopted the last time they addressed deer.
Okay.
Chair?
Yes, Quentin?
And if I may chime in support of that comment, just as I understand your question and your intent, Chair. So licenses are out the door, thinking about decision space available to the commission at this point in time for one license or they're out the door. If there was the next step would be, and you have hit on it earlier, Chair, area closures. And then another, that is to say, the license has still been allocated, but the commission would have discretion here today to say you can hunt everywhere except this new place where you can't. That would be an option. Just answering the question in an objective context, what other steps are available? And in that process, the other thing I would add is the department has a history of when some sort of restriction comes, some sort of late restriction like that comes on board, there has been an eye to whether or not there remains an opportunity for the hunter yet to apply a license, if not to apply the license in the context of hunting and harvesting, if not in that newly closed area, then some other area. So for whatever that context is worth, Chair, as you and your peers think about what other options might be interesting to the commission.
Commissioner Burrows.
In looking through the regs in Region 6 specifically, it seems like one of the fundamental differences between the B licenses on the antlerless mule deer and the antlerless whitetail are the unlimited or this up to 3 per hunter antlerless whitetail allows them to hunt on either private or public ground, right? And then the numbers that we were talking about earlier, even with the surplus, like in for example, in 600-01, 500 antlerless mule deer, but they're only valid on private land. And so you've got, and I guess that I don't know if the rationale for that is more opportunity for harvest by landowners or whether that's like more like damage hunts to get them off. And I don't know what the rationale is for that, but it does seem like we give out quite a few, especially, and we could talk about it during season setting, but it seems like 500 just in, when you add them all up, you're talking about probably thousands of mule deer, antlerless mule deer available for this Deer B license on private property. And maybe that's not the best model unless we've identified some specific game damage areas.
That was your motion from last year, Commissioner Burrows, because of the low numbers of mule.
And I was just saying, it looks like we're still giving out it's only valid on private land, but we still have, when you scroll through, and then when you look at, and we're glad the biologists are at the bottom edge of the quota range, but it seems to me like our quota range is also significantly higher than it should, because you've got a quota range of 500 to 1500 antlerless mule deer Deer B licenses just in that hunting district 600.
So it's kind of not a point since they're already in everyone's hands. So there doesn't seem like there's anything we can do to fix that for this year with this. But I guess, yeah, I did talk about trying to shut down some areas, but with the hunting districts being so large, it's very hard to, with Highway 2 crossing or not being a good delineator because of Milk River crossing it. So that can't be, I don't even have any true areas to shut it down. And so this seems like it's the only option, I guess, to try to help. And I know, I mean, the argument has been made that only a small percentage or whatever comes out of Phillips County as far as the harvest. But when you take into account how many have already not been harvested, but have been hit by this disease and are no longer around, I feel like the harvest is already, the quota has been, well, not the quota because we don't have quota, but the harvest numbers have probably already met what the normal harvest would be. But anyway, any other input from commissioners? Commissioner Wargo.
I guess first I just wanted to say I think it's awesome that we're actually having this conversation kind of late in the game. So I really appreciate the proactive approach by the department. It would probably be fairly convoluted and an enforcement headache, but it does sound like a closure area could be something within X miles of the Milk River. You would disallow harvest of whitetails. Now that's pretty tough to, or sorry, mule deer, those existing mule deer permits, but that's probably a pretty tough enforcement issue there.
Commissioner Walsh.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Robinson. I reflecting on the public comment that we received and understanding this was all pretty rushed. Several commenters raised concerns about Region 7, and this might be more of a question for Commissioner Lane, but looking at the map, it looks like their concerns are valid. And this is a question for Mr. Wakeling. Do you think we should extend these kinds of restrictions into Region 7?
I guess I'm going to let Commissioner Lane speak to that too, and then I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In speaking with our regional biologists, and they're obviously aware of what all is going on with the EHD and BTB, but they wanted to assure people that, I mean, this is not something that this is the first time it's happened. I mean, this is ongoing. There are areas that they're watching and monitoring very closely, but at this point, they didn't feel like there was any need to put any more restrictions. And with the restrictions on the private use on private land, they said there's a lot of the landowners are immediately aware of where these animals need a break, and they're just not allowing access.
And
I don't know.
The private land is just for mule deer. I'm pretty sure.
Right, but I mean, and that was where I was going to comment earlier when you were talking about that up in Region 6. So, but at this point, I mean, based on they obviously are watching and monitoring and concerned, but they don't feel like there was any need at this point to make any changes. And I would defer to Region 7 if they have any thing to add about that.
I guess if Region 7 would like to speak. There we go.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lane, other members of the commission, I think Commissioner Lane hit it on the head there. While we are seeing some areas impacted by EHD and blue tongue virus, it is a little bit sporadic across 30,000 square miles. Our area that is being appears to have the most symptomatic reports coming from it is the stretch along the Yellowstone from the Miles City to the Forsyth area. Once again, I think Brian provided a great amount of detail on the disease and on the spatial distribution of its impacts. We're across 30,000 square miles here. There are some areas hit harder than others, but with our licenses remaining, the initial quota of antlerless licenses we had, and our harvest estimates on what those B licenses fill rates are, we see no biological need to reduce or have any adjustment to the licenses out there.
Emily, I don't know if you have an overlay, but on where the hotspot is along the Milk River, it's my guess it's mostly private land. But does it? Do you have any kind of overlay like that?
Sure, I don't.
Okay.
No, sorry.
Brian, do you have anything to add to that?
Madam Chair, very, very little additional information. I will acknowledge there are some 00700 whitetail licenses for Region 7 that still have not been issued through surplus. So there are some of those remaining. But everything that we've seen, and it always seems kind of counterintuitive to the public, and they often become very concerned because it appears as though we may not be responding to some of these events as aggressively as they might hope that we would. But part of what happens with a whitetail antlerless license, for instance, if a hunter's in the field and if he's got 2 or 3 licenses and he has real easy success one year or one weekend, he may rush right back out there and try again. Or even if he just has a single license and he's seeing deer, the likelihood is that it's kind of a self-reassuring thing, and you're seeing things and you want to keep going back out there because it's successful. One of the things that happens, and this happens with hunters from everything from upland game to deer, when you're out in the field and you're not having success, the likelihood that you will return a second time goes down. And so if a hunter is out and doesn't encounter abundant whitetail deer, the likelihood that they'll continue hunting is much less than if a hunter is out and they're encountering a lot of whitetails. So, the points that everybody's made, how big some of these regions are, where it's available to be used. From a biological standpoint, we do not. This isn't to say that we're not going to recommend some reductions as we go into the season setting as a result of this, but there's nothing about these hunts that's going to change the severity of our cuts. We anticipate much of this to be the phrase they use is compensatory. If they don't die from hunting, they'll wind up dying from EHD. If they don't die from, they kind of compensate for one another, and so we don't anticipate seeing a substantive biological effect as a result of this. How's that for saying I don't have much to add, but I still babbled for quite a while?
So Commissioner Wargo.
I think Leslie, Chair Robinson, brings up some, still some very valid concerns. I do want to highlight on. It looks like, if you look at the past license sales compared to where we're sitting right now, we still have pretty high likelihood that we're still going. We could still probably sell an additional 2,000, 2,500 B tags to a single license holder. If you look at the number of tags that were sold, or that people that had 2 or 3 tags last year, and you subtract that from the current people that have 2 or 3 tags, that's theoretical reduction of like 780 some odd people. But last year there was 3,300 people that bought a single license, and we're sitting at only 504 right now. So that, I guess, there's maybe that's the bigger thing to look at is that one license responsible.
And there are whitetail in other areas, even in Phillips County. We do have pockets of deer that have not been affected yet. So, because I did consider recommending just like a countywide shutdown, but there are pockets, and you can do management hunts and game damage hunts if there are problem areas. Then you run into, if a landowner doesn't normally allow access, they're not eligible for these hunts, these management type hunts. So I'm just talking in circles, to be honest. I don't really feel that this is enough, but I don't know what we can do that's a manageable fix for this year. But this does make, hopefully take a big dent out of it. One question I had is, I think that, and I don't know if how much the FWP has been putting out, but the hunters and social media, online, everything should have information of maybe the map of where it's being hit harder, and maybe discourage people from hunting in that area. And I don't know if that's something you've ever done or if it's something you're willing to do, but I'll let you answer that, please, and then I'll wrap it up.
Madam Chair, I think that is something we can certainly share. I mean, the map that we provided to the commission is available currently to the public. That's certainly something we can look to try to distribute a little bit more widely and let people know where we're seeing it. So I think that's something we can accommodate.
Okay. Commissioner Burrows.
I would just say in these discussions about biologically, if we start to see deer declines or deer disease, I think we should look. I think from what I'm hearing from constituents is they want us to be proactive and they want us to protect the species that are out there, especially mule deer. I don't hear as much about whitetail, but I think if we've got rationale and justification for it, I think eventually we'll start to see some of these hunting decisions made similar to hoot owl and fishing restrictions. Because I've been our fishing community, at least in the Bitterroot and the southwest side of Montana, they've gotten really good about understanding that when the temperatures get to this level and the water flows get to this level, to protect the resource, we have to stop. We have to stop fishing it. We have to stop utilizing it. And I think if we could take that same approach on the hunting side, I think the sportsmen and women and even the guides will understand that as long as we're sincere that this is a short-term fix, we're going to put a temporary restriction on, stop harvesting whitetail or mule deer does in this area for a year or two, whatever it takes. When we see that come back, we're sincere that we'll open that back up to opportunity. And I think if we take that approach, I think the sportsmen and women are going to accept it just like they do with the fishing restrictions that we put on. And I think we should be proactive. And if we see a need, we see an issue, we jump on it, we try it out and make whatever restrictions or decisions that are necessary to respond.
So Commissioner Burrows, my biggest problem is how to define that area. It could be, I'm almost everybody has Onyx nowadays, could be within certain number of miles or whatever from the Milk River, but it's also very hard, I'm sure, to enforce that on the game warden side.
I don't know. And it's probably easier. I know for me personally, and a lot of sportsmen are probably more familiar with hunting district specific. And if you have one certain area, even if it extends out and you're a little more conservative on your approach for protection, I would say that probably works better. Just do it by, if it's a small portion of hunting district 600, do the entire hunting district and limit it for 1 year only while we've got this downtime to protect the species. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of kickback from that if we've got rationale and justification and we take a little more conservative approach to protecting the resource, is my opinion.
Region 6, could you come back on, please? So I'm assuming you heard that suggestion. How much of the pools of where we actually have whitetail would be affected with that type of a motion?
Chair Robinson, Commissioner Burrows, and other members. The Milk River would certainly hold the highest densities of whitetail in, say, District 600. and others. The one challenge is there are many riparian area creek bottoms that extend all the way to the Canadian line with whitetail habitat that are not being affected. The proportion of those whitetail, is it, it'd be less than what we see in the Milk River, but still pretty substantial numbers in those areas. And how that affects private landowners and their ability to manage whitetail. And then the other elephant in the room is CWD in those areas is fairly high. And we would want to continue to see management tools to address large concentrations of whitetails if they happened in some of those areas, which we do see, especially late season. I hope that answers or helps.
Is there any kind of an area that could be defined that would not include like the Little Rockies, the CMR, the way up north where you said there's pockets of whitetail? Is there any way to define that? Not exactly, but something that would be understandable?
Chair Robinson, I have scoured the map and defining that is very challenging. It would be a series of roads, railroads, highways, this and that would be fairly messy. Is it possible? I suppose, but it would be something that I think we'd have to rely more on an Onyx type situation for hunters to even understand what that looks like.
So because this was such a short notice and we didn't have time to do that, I would like to direct you guys to come up with a future plan with some definite, because it's always going to be the Milk River Valley. It always has been, I guess, historically. If we could have something that is in place that could be used when we do have a problem like this, I would appreciate that. I just don't think with the short notice that we can define it well enough that it isn't going to be completely confusing and not going to be enforceable. Would that be possible? Scott, Brian?
Duly noted, Chair Robinson. We'll do our best to try to develop something that could be used to address this.
Okay. So, Commissioner Lane.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on that idea that I think Region 7, I think it would be good to also indicate where those hot areas are and have a plan just like Region 6 does. And it might even be something that we could do statewide. Thank you.
Commissioner Wargo.
Question for Region 6. I think you kind of hit on it a little bit with CWD as a potential downside, but if to propose an amendment to the amendment that basically read instead of limiting future sales to end future sales of that 006-00B license. I mean, talk through the downsides of and potential concerns or risks. Obviously, those remaining mule deer tags that are in people's pockets, if they also have a whitetail tag, they might try to put a little bit higher effort into that. Some of the people from Region 6 might switch over and bombard Region 7. I don't know, just a couple thoughts, but what would that potentially look like?
So just so I understand, you're talking about ending the sales. It would be ended at 1172 is what it was at the end of September, whatever's been sold to date, that would be it. So if you want to talk to that, Scott, maybe.
Yeah, you bet, Chair Robinson, Commissioner Wargo. I think that the trade-off in cutting off sales is in areas where there are more abundant whitetail where landowners would like to see some harvest during the general season, that would limit that management tool, and even frankly that opportunity for hunters. The concept of would they switch more effort to mule deer, or would we see a higher percentage of our mule deer licenses result in a harvest? I don't think our history with EHD show indicates that hunter or that success rates increase for the alternative species because of limited opportunity. Moreover, we see hunters either declining to hunt, in this case whitetail, or shifting their efforts to areas where they're more abundant. That's been our experience.
But there are management or game damage hunts available to the landowners if there are areas where there are problems. Correct?
Chair Robinson, that would be correct. And as you indicated earlier, it would hinge on their willingness to allow hunting during the general season. And so, and furthermore, we strive to set up our management tools using the general season as our primary tool, not relying on management seasons, because typically they are less effective in the long run. But you are correct, management seasons or game damage hunts could be a tool for those landowners as well.
I guess one more question. I know that we're taking a lot of time on this, but instead, could we just limit the number that are available? I mean, limit it to one person, but then set a limit of how many are available. They're unlimited right now. So Brian, I guess, and Quentin.
Madam Chair, that is within the authority of the commission to limit the number of licenses that could be issued.
So statistically, what I think it was Ian that said, like, there were 4,000, but how many individuals purchased last year compared to how many individuals have sold already?
Madam Chair, that's in the proposal and information sheet under alternatives and analysis, and that's as of September 30th.
Right.
But there were 1,172 antlerless licenses sold, and in 2024 it was 4,788.
Okay. But like individuals, not the 4,788, how many of those were individual? One, just
yeah, the 4,788 were individual licenses sold. If you go back, 3,372 hunters had purchased a single license, 682 had bought 2 licenses, and 372 had bought 3 licenses.
Okay, so 3,000, and I do not have my stuff in front of me because I only have my share agenda, but so 3,000, what was it that the individual ones last year?
3,372
okay
bought a single license.
So if it was the same as last year, that'd mean that there was like 1,200 more possibly that could be individually bought.
It would be closer to about 1,600 were individually bought. I mean, there were 682 had 2.
Okay.
372 had 3. So 682 times 2 roughly is 1,400. 372 times 3 is roughly 1,000. So you're looking at it. Then you subtract the single off of that. It gets into some kind of difficult napkin math pretty quickly, but nevertheless, there were probably
okay. Okay, well then I'm gonna make an amendment to the original, and I'm going to limit the availability to an additional 1,000 B 006-00B licenses if somebody would like to second it.
Chair Robinson, this is
Yes.
Kevin Reckoff.
Yep.
My recommendation, because you made the parent motion and had a second from Commissioner Lane, if there was someone who wanted to amend your parent motion, or you could withdraw and remake the parent motion, would be cleaner, Madam Chair.
Okay. Which would go against what I usually do, but because I'm usually not the ones making motions. Because I usually like to have the clean motion to begin with and then amended from there.
That's just, Madam Chair, you could withdraw and restate what the parent motion with your changes that you were going to make in your amendment if you wanted to do that. To have a clean parent
somebody
motion.
else is only because I just want to stick with how I usually do it, because it's a messy mess when the parent motion is amended. So if there is somebody,
Madam
Commissioner Wargo has his hand up.
I just had a quick question for the department. I guess maybe both ways are fine, but it is easier to draw a line in the sand as far as additional sales, or if you put it like a cap of 2,000 total, is that better to track in your system?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, my sense is that it would be easier if you give us a number and say no more second and third purchases. But I'll defer that to Emily Cooper, because she has to actually manipulate that. But if you say 1,000 more, 1,000 more from when becomes a little bit of a question. So Emily, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that.
Because the way the motion is, it says beginning October 10th. So would you rather have a total number, or how many are available after October 10th, beginning October 10th?
Sure, I can do it both ways. I can limit the total that are available, or I can limit the availability per person.
Okay.
And I could do both also, either or both.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Burrows.
Madam Chair, I'd be willing to make a motion, but I just wanted to clarify. Right now it's or as of September 30th, there was 1,100. Do you want an exact 1,000 more? Would you be fine with 2,000 total?
I would be fine with 2,000 total.
Okay, so I would
have no idea what it's sitting at right now, I guess.
That's what I was thinking. If we just made a total amount, that would give us roughly 800, probably more tags. And if you'd be willing to, I guess I'd like to take a crack at a motion and see if.
So Emily might have a statistic for us.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I do. I have a number as of a couple minutes ago.
Okay.
So the total sales thus far as of a couple minutes ago today is 1,437. Gone up a little bit.
Okay.
Individuals who purchased 3, 169 individuals purchased 3, 175 purchased 2, and 580 have purchased 1.
Okay. Thank you. Okay,
So,
Commissioner Burrows, does that help?
So I would move that the Fish Wildlife Commission approve the limiting of sales of the 006-00B licenses to 2,000 total and to only 1 per person, and eliminate the opportunity for an individual to purchase a second or third 006-00 whitetail deer B license.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay.
But so one question, do we want to say October 10th?
Well, that's part of the original motion. So his is just a change.
Okay.
And then we'll vote on the amended original motion.
Madam Chair, this is Kevin Reckoff.
Yeah.
Are you withdrawing your original motion then? Because of
He pretty
Commissioner
much
Burrows.
I
just want to clarify that we don't have 2 competing motions on the floor.
No, this should be an amendment. So I want to vote on the amendment, and then we'll vote on the original motion. So his amendment is changing it to So it will change the original motion.
Right, exactly.
Right. Okay, so are there any questions? Clear as mud. We'll vote on the amendment, and I won't go out to public comment until it's the amended motion. So is there any comments or questions before we vote on this amendment? All those in favor of the amendment, oops, I hear somebody.
Madam Chair, this is Ryan. Can you have everyone check the language on the amendment, please?
Okay. Commissioner Burrows and Commissioner Brook.
That, I think that met the intent of my motion, is making sure that it was 2,000 total and only an opportunity for the remaining total to be purchased by a first choice or a first tag.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so
Wait, Chair.
Yep.
We're now confused with that last edit.
Well, yeah, it should only allow for a single
Oh, right.
Oh,
that's wrong.
Oh, right.
to purchase a single. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We probably need to revote.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if you could have, or Commissioner Burrows, if you could read that amendment and clarify that's the second, just for clear procedure here, that would be great.
All right, Madam Chair, my amended motion was I move the Fish Wildlife Commission approve the limiting of the sale of the 006-00B licenses to 2,000 total, and only allow the opportunity for an individual to purchase a single 006-00 whitetail deer B license beginning in October. I don't think we need the rest of that.
I agree.
Right, because it's going to be part of the original.
Yep.
Okay. So.
I second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the amended amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. So then, could you pull up? It's not going to change much except for the original motion, except for the October 10th, I think. Is there a possibility to pull that up? The amendment should be put into this motion.
Just tagged on right to the very end. But you put place, second and third.
Yep. And then just strike what it replaced. You need to keep in the October 10th. Okay, so beginning on also should not have a strike through. It should end at license. And I move the very first line because it's part of the amendment already. Okay, so
Missed it, the.
yeah, the should also be taken out.
First word, second line.
Okay. So the motion that is on, that will go out for public comment. Need to bring it down so I can see it. Yeah.
Would that be more clear to move that sentence in front of beginning or no?
Yes. If you could just move that amendment to the beginning, please, and take out, yeah, you can take out the amendment language. I mean, EHD amendment, take that out and then just move that language to the top. Okay. Okay, legal, are we good on it now?
Yep. Thank you, Chair.
All right, so this is motion that's skinny. Is there a question?
Is it, or I guess we say the beginning on October 10th twice.
Right, because it wasn't, yes.
Yeah,
like you
Madam
could
Chair, members of the commission, I would just eliminate, honestly, for clarity, just eliminate the strike through because now your proposed motion is the highlighted language.
Right. Okay.
Just for clarity for everyone, just
strike.
That's.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's what's going out right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
October 10th needs to come out though.
No. Want it to start October 10th. Well, yeah, okay. Okay, legal or Quentin, the way that's worded, is that saying that as of October 10th, an additional 2,000 can be sold?
Madam Chair, I believe the amendment did not have October 10th.
Right, because we left it in the original.
Okay.
But is that changing the meaning of it by leaving October 10th in there?
Reading it now with that question in mind, Chair, if you give us a minute.
Yep.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that we're clear.
So it's 2,000 total.
Since it's 2,000 total, you can change it to license here if you want to clarify instead of a date.
Well, but then we get rid of the date because the date is intended to say starting the 10th, it drops, the per person drops from 3 to 1. I wonder if we say I wonder if there's a way to say 2,000 total period, further only allow the opportunity. You see what I'm saying?
Split period after.
Yeah.
Period after total.
Period after total.
Yep, right there.
Take out.
And then say and then further only allow the opportunity for an individual to purchase. Does that work?
Can that be considered just a grammatical change, or do we need motion to change that?
Madam Chair, just for absolute clarity and safest procedure, I would, because the amendment read into the record is different from what's on the screen now. I would simply just make another amendment, get a second, and read this into the record. If this is what the commission would want to do.
Okay, Commissioner Burrows, I'll give you that option since it really didn't change what you said. It just clarified it.
Yeah, I would consider that a friendly amendment, but for the record, I can restate the motion.
Let's do that.
That I would move that the Fish and Wildlife Commission approve the limiting of sale of the 006-00B license to 2,000 total. Further, only allow the opportunity for an individual to purchase a single 006-00 white-tailed deer B license beginning on October 10th as presented by the department.
No second.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions before I see if anyone wants to comment on this?
I think Kevin wants us to vote on this again.
Oh, yes, sorry. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, so this is the motion that will go out to the public for comment. Sorry for the confusion. I just want to make sure it's clear. Okay.
Madam Chair, that's good on my end, just so you know. This is Kevin.
Okay, thank you. As long as Quentin and Brian understand it and legal is good, then I think we're good. And
What's up here?
So I can't see the regional offices, so you're gonna have to speak up if there is someone. Okay. Is there anyone in the regional offices who would like to speak?
Madam Chair, this is Region 6. We have one commenter.
Okay, go ahead. 2-minute limit on commenting, but go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, Justin Schaff from Glassville, Montana. First off, thank you for taking a proactive approach to this EHD issue. Really excited to see it. I think it's very important. The proposed motion, I think the limiting it to 2,000 moving forward is good. I do wonder if that limiting that ambulance license to one per person maybe will have adverse effects on that. I think what you're going to see is by selling 1,000 from this point forward to one per person, you're going to guarantee that you have 1,000 hunters out there in that area. As where if you didn't have that one per person, you're going to have the same licenses sold, but you're going to have less hunters in that area, in that affected area. And I'm just guessing, but I'm guessing that the harvest success rate on a one antlerless license is higher than that second and third and so on. So, I mean, if the intention is saving whitetail deer in this area, I think you're better off removing that one per hunter restriction and just having that 2,000 cap. And that, thank you for your time. Yeah, thanks again for this.
Thank you. Is there any other regional offices who have someone who would like to speak? Okay, I see I have one with their hand raised. Kevin, if you would go ahead and speak, please.
Yeah, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Chair, Commissioners and Chair Robinson, Kevin Farron here on behalf of the Montana Wildlife Federation. While we always favor hunting opportunities when sustainable, our primary concern is and always has been the resource. So with that, we're appreciative with the swift and nimble response from the department here. Fully supportive of the proposal, the amendment, happy with the process. Once again, we're seeing that Montana already has and already uses the tools and regional flexibility needed to address deer population concerns and achieve management objectives. This is just the latest example of why wholesale upending of the current deer regulations may be unnecessary. I do want to just kind of echo what Mr. Schaff just said about the potential maybe unintended consequence of limiting these to one per person. If our goal is to limit the whitetail doe harvest and also keep an eye on hunting pressure and how that plays into all of these concerns, I think that would be wise to think about. With our written comments, we did wonder if these emergency adjustments went far enough, but the amendment mostly silences our concerns. I did just want to point out, though, that if there is remaining concern in Region 7, it sounds like the mule deer doe tags are all but allocated, but 6,000 of these whitetail doe tags are available in Region 7. And I don't know if there was any clarity offered on how many of those have already been sold. So it might be worth asking that question and looking into a similar cap there. especially when you think about the relatively new restrictions to non-residents being able to just get one doe license for mule deer, no mule deer doe harvests for anyone on private lands in region 6 and 7. All of these things taken together do maybe impact the demand for those now the region 7 whitetail doe tags. So finally, one potential longer term solution here could be for the department to look at these disease hotspots and carve out these areas from the regional B licenses. They could still offer liberal or even unlimited amounts of these licenses, but if in the event that this sort of outbreak happens again in these areas, they could then be proactive to stop or limit the over-the-counter sales of those licenses in those specific targeted areas only, while not removing the opportunity that might be sustainable elsewhere in, what are really, really big regions. So anyway, thank you for the opportunity to comment. Thank you guys for being all over this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else. I'll give the regional offices one more chance. All right, any feedback or questions from the commission? Commissioner Burrows.
Madam Chair, before Mr. Farron came on, I actually had that written as a note because this was one of the things that our concern was during the limitation on the mule deer doe when we did that last season setting was I guess I have less concern about the unintended consequences of the first tag and maybe over harvest on that. But that is a good example of why we need mandatory harvest. Instead of speculating on what is the success rate of a first, second, third tag out there, mandatory harvest would make it so we didn't have to speculate on that. We would know the answers to those questions. So again, probably just another a good segue into why we need mandatory harvest. But back to where I was going originally was, could there potentially be, and I don't know how the population is in region 7, could there be an unintended consequence of jumping the region 6 border to 7 to say, we want to harvest a whitetail doe, so we're going to jump over and hit the adjacent areas. I don't know that it's necessary to respond to it now if the most of the mitigation needs to happen in 6, but that's the only thing I see as a possible unintended consequence. And lastly, there was some sausage made today, but I'll say it again. I think I think this is a good stroke of business and a good response to an issue. And I know sometimes it looks a little messy through the motion, but I think the public should appreciate what happened today, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Wargo.
Yeah, I guess I just asked that question just out of curiosity. Of the 6,000, probably a question for Ms. Cooper, of the 6,000 whitetail B tags that are available in 7, do we have a kind of an up-to-date license sales on that?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Wargo, Emily Cooper again, I do. Out of 6,000 available, we've sold 4,270. So that remains 1,727 available for purchase as of this morning.
Commissioner Lane, it's your region. You have any concerns, or are you happy?
The more I think about it, the more concern I have, but I'm still kind of going back. I've always said I try to maintain the science to it. I mean, there is a social concern, but the main thing here we're concerned with is the science behind it, the biological science. And that's where I maybe not erring at caution, but erring more on the trusting the biologist of what their recommendations are. And so at this point, if they do not see the need to put any limitations on it, I at this point don't feel the need to bring it forward.
Any further discussion? Okay. We will vote on the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Could I just give one piece of information to everybody to look at? And I know it's different dynamic in the west side of the state where when we give out mule and the numbers are totally different. But when we give out deer B licenses over here, we've pretty much restricted our deer B licenses in the west side of the state for mule deer to what's necessary to just collect some biological data on those. I added up the number of antlerless. So we're talking about kind of a mule deer crisis in the east side of the state, I think is fair to say, and declining numbers. I added them up real quick just while we were going through. It's almost 9,000 by my estimate, and maybe somebody could correct me, 9,000 mule deer doe licenses in the eastern side of the state. Now, granted, those are all limited to private, but I guess it's hard to say. I guess it's hard to talk about a mule deer crisis and mule deer declining numbers and allow 9,000 mule deer doe tags over there. So just maybe some food for thought with season setting coming up in December.
All right, thank you. And I guess, Brian, just a reminder that, I don't want to have to use the map, but we do need to put together a map, and I'm assuming that the hotspots are usually in the same areas. So if we do need to use it, and hopefully not ever have to use that map, but just if we could, especially for region 6 and 7.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So noted.
Thank you. Okay. We will move on to Parks and Outdoor Rec.
Morning, Chair Robinson, members of the commission. Renee Lemon here, Division Administrator with Parks and Outdoor Recreation. We have another rulemaking topic for you. This is a request for the commission to adopt the Private Land Access Agreement Administrative Rules. So this is the second part of the Montana Administrative Procedures Act rulemaking process that Kevin and Brian were referring to earlier. You might remember that at your June meeting, you authorized the department to initiate rulemaking on this item. And just as a refresher, the reason for the request starts with Senate Bill 83, which was an agency bill that was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor in the last session. And what this bill does is it adds an item to the commission's statutory powers that the commission adopts the rules of individual landowners governing the public use of their property under access agreements. By making landowner rules commission rules, it gives game wardens more enforcement discretion. So you can see here the rule language. So in order to implement the bill, we need to add this new rule, which is 12.2.609. And the rule states 3 items. So the first is that individuals accessing private lands and access programs must follow landowner rules. The second is that a violation of a landowner rule is a violation of a commission rule. And then the third is that the landowner rules are published on the department's website. We've taken the rules through the Secretary of State's MAPA process, and through that process, we collected public comment. We received public comment from 4 organizations, and they were in support of the rules. In conclusion, we recommend the commission adopts the rules so we can better enforce landowner rules on lands part of access agreements and comply with Senate Bill 83. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? I guess legal, Kevin, if you wouldn't mind just giving just a refresher of why there isn't public comment on this at this point.
Yeah, absolutely, Madam Chair. So because it's a part of the rulemaking process, public comment was received when the commission decided to initiate rulemaking, and then public comment was received through the rulemaking process itself. So that's the opportunity for the public to engage with the commission's decision space here today.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Walsh.
I move that Fish and Wildlife Commission adopt as final the proposed private land access agreement, administrative rules, and the draft rule adoption notice.
I second that.
Okay. Commissioner Brook, second. Since there is no public comment, is there any questions on this rule or our process before we go to a vote? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I'm losing my voice, so it's a good thing it was a short meeting, or we're almost there. Okay, land and water.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Last on your agenda, hopefully not least, I have 2 habitat conservation leases for your consideration. Recall that in August of this year, you considered a large number of leases, 22 proposed leases at the time, for a total of 60,737 acres. We had a number of them we couldn't bring at that time. We were still working out some final arrangements of exactly what landowners wanted to see and whether we could enter leases. And with these 2 examples where there were some existing agreements on the land. With these 2, we have a total of 6,492 acres for the Habitat Conservation Leasing Program. The first of these 2 is in Phillips County, the Larry Smith Ranch or Overpass Ranch. It has a total of 2,964 acres, 2,802 of which are native rangeland. The payment based on the acreage here would be $346,932. There is a slight reduction of, or not slight, but there is a reduction to $294,651. This is because of a portion of this property is in an existing grassland lease. And so the reduction is for a compensation back to the Department of essentially replacing that existing lease with this new 40-year lease. It would come with it a minimum of 120 recreation days for the public, and it does enhance access to some several thousand acres of public land. The second is the Granger Ranches Habitat Conservation Lease. This is in Madison County. It is a total of 3,528 acres and an approximate payment of $1,076,040. Similarly, that payment will be reduced to $980,270. That is due to the fact that there is an existing conservation easement on this property. We carefully considered, met with the director's office and wildlife, and carefully considered whether we would have whether we would enter a conservation lease where there is an existing conservation easement. But this conservation is not FWP. It is held by Montana Land Reliance. Most of their easements, including this one, really has a very minimal restriction upon the land. It's really a restriction to subdivision only and does not preclude conversion of that land to a cropping system, for example. So we determined that it was a very worthy project given the additional protections and the public access provided by the Habitat Conservation Lease. It has a minimum of 104 recreation days for the public.
Okay. Any questions? All right, Commissioner Brooke.
Madam Chair, thank you. Bill, good job on these, by the way. I mean, that's very impressive, both of them. But I'm wondering, how do you come up with the hunter days of the recreation days, that there's going to be 35 hunter days, And one of the reasons why I'm curious about is specifically the Granger Ranch is every year for years and years and years, we've had game damage hunts. So I'm wondering why we would have a limit of 35 hunter days and how you even get to that number.
Yeah. Commissioner Brooke, Madam Chair. The 35 hunter days and 104 recreation days, first of all, it's not a limit. It's a minimum. These are primarily or almost exclusively up to this point, we're using Habitat Montana dollars, and those dollars are really about wildlife habitat. And so that is the primary focus of these leases, but we do include a minimum number of hunter and recreation days. And there is a formula, and I'm sorry, I don't know if I have it at my fingertips, but there's a formula for the number of acres and the number of hunter days that translates to in recreation days. Important to note, however, is that the landowner is perfectly free to provide more than that. And some of these landowners do, in fact, participate in block management or allow additional hunting that is well beyond the minimum. And so this landowner would not be restricted from participating in a game damage hunt or similar program.
Just a follow-up comment, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm very familiar with this land. I have not hunted it, but for the other commission members, I'll say that from Cameron to the south is become, in my lifetime, subdivided, and it's all mostly 20-acre parcels. And then just 20 miles to the south about from this is the Wall Creek Game Range. And so when you drive down this valley in the wintertime, it looks like the Serengeti out there. There's so many elk on the Granger Ranch and out on Armitage Flats, thousands of elk. And so I think anytime we can improve and preserve habitat and also increase hunting opportunities in the Madison Valley, I think is a huge win. And I just want to thank you, Bill, for your work on this.
Yeah. Thank you. Commissioner Walsh.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Robinson. Mr. Shank, I just had a question about what the definition of recreation days, the non-hunting recreation days are, and is the Granger Ranch going to provide any access for anglers?
Vice Chair Walsh and members, Madam Chair. To the best of my knowledge, a recreation day is just like it was defined in block management, where one day is equivalent to a person, a recreator hunter, using that property for all or part of one day. And so if that individual chooses to take a walk for an hour, and that counts as a recreation day. That's my understanding. And I don't know the answer to your question regarding angling.
Okay. Commissioner Wargo.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Bill, I just wanted to say I saw these inserts kind of providing a little bit of additional detailed information on each property that you guys provided. I really appreciate, that helps, being able to look at these on a little bit finer scale. So I really appreciate that. Just quick question on the recreation days. I guess, it's kind of been hit on a little bit, but what, as far as, compliance with that, what sort of measures does the department have in place? I mean, if they're, if they log 20 days for the next 5 years or something, I mean, is there a discussion? Is there a reimbursement, or, what do we have in place to just, I guess, track that? I mean, it sounds like most of the time, landowners are probably overly generous on that, but in the event that we see an underage.
Commissioner Wargo and Madam Chair, So I think that, the question, perhaps there's somebody in one of the regions that's, one of our access folks could better address this. My understanding is that each one of these, once it's entered, because it's a habitat conservation lease, that it would be entered into and administered under our access programs. And then, there's various approaches with the landowners of actually counting these. We like when they're actually enrolled in block management, there's a mechanism there to that is sort of well trodden ground in terms of keeping track of hunter numbers, either through sign up or a type 2 system. I think it varies in how we're actually administering it from region to region. I might look for some support there if there's any available in any of the regions.
I guess I just want to follow up to that too. I mean, block management is fairly simple to track because they sign in, but a block management is not necessarily for recreation access. So the recreationists aren't necessarily signing into block management. And maybe that could be something that was added to the block management coupons or whatever that they fill out. If they're on areas that are in both programs. Just a suggestion, be a little bit easier way to track their recreation use too.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Wargo, I'm wondering if I could get with the wildlife folks and perhaps at your next meeting, give you a little bit of a report on, since we've had some of these in place now since we started them, as you know, our first ones were approved around a year ago. And we got those in place. And then this next round that we should have in place for next year. Would you be interested in having a report at your next commission meeting around how these are being administered for access?
That
Yes.
would be that would be a great idea. It's going to be a pretty busy meeting in December, so not an extensive report, but that would be great.
Okay, I don't know, director or anybody else, any concerns with doing that? I think we could pull that together pretty readily.
No, that works for me, Bill. That's fine. If that's what the commission chooses to do.
Okay.
Thank you. I think that would be helpful. Ian, did you have any follow-up on that?
Nope. I think it's just, I mean, there was, a few comments and whatnot and a few things that I kind of saw myself. Is just that transparency. We're signing an agreement here and the public gets to, it enjoys the benefits of those agreements. So just, accountability with that. So I appreciate that offer.
Okay. Commissioner Brooke.
Madam Chair, I move the Fish and Wildlife Commission approve Fish, Wildlife and Parks proposal to enroll the 2 habitat conservation leases totaling up to 6,492 acres of private land into the Prairie Habitat Conservation Lease Program as proposed by the department.
Second.
Okay, was that Commissioner Lane?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions before I go out to public comment? Okay, is there anyone in the regional offices who would like to comment? Okay, I'll give you a chance and is there anyone, raise your hands, the attendees, if there's anyone who would like to comment? Okay, I'll go ahead with Kevin.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioners, again, Kevin Farron, Montana Wildlife Federation. We did submit written comments, so I will try to be brief here. Really appreciate the conversation. We certainly prefer voluntary perpetual conservation easements, but we recognize that these don't work for all conservation-minded landowners, which is why we're fully supportive of these habitat leases, including the 2 in front of you. We do appreciate the acknowledgement and explanation from FWP about the difference between the existing conservation easement and then this habitat lease layer that would be added on top of that. And, hence the discounted total, but still very real value in terms of the additional conservation values that would be protected, and also importantly, the required public access. We do have concerns about that at the programmatic level, not necessarily just for these two projects that are in front of you today. I think you guys are on the right track with the conversation that just took place. I appreciate the department's willingness to take a closer look at this and kind of report out on how some of these things are determined and tracked. I would just point out a couple things, in relation to that. That, block management is an annual hunter impact program, and there seems to be more accountability and fairness in terms of public access in these agreements versus what's before you today, which is 30 or 40 times longer, with compensation totaling much, much more. So we really hope that we can at least get those in line. We do think that block management has work to do there too. But the fact that these seem to be going a little bit more free natured in terms of how they're tracked and, how we're ensuring that these are done in an equitable way. I think that there's a lot of room to basically to show the public that, the landowners and the cooperators are taking these commitments seriously, and these opportunities are in fact going out to the public, and we can all feel comfortable that it's being done the right way. I do think that on a part of that also, I think, I believe it was Commissioner Walsh brought up the question about recreation opportunities, and if fishing's part of that. If fishing is not, I would just ask,
time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Robinson,
Yes.
Quentin confirmed that angling is a portion of that. Is that right?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director. So angling would certainly count, still chasing if on the particular property in question that the landowner also has approved a fishing component. But if there is, yes, it would go to the non-hunting recreation. We'll follow up with that and get a clear answer. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that could be part of the presentation too. Thank you. All right, I don't see anyone else with their hands raised, and I don't see any regional offices. Okay. Any other questions before we go to a vote? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The only thing left on the agenda is public comment of items not on the agenda. Anyone in the regional offices? Anyone, any of the attendees? Raise your hand if you would like to speak to something that was not on the agenda. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We had some really good conversations, some tough conversations today, and we've got a lot of work to do before our December meeting, and I look forward to seeing everyone in person. And I will adjourn the meeting, and thank you, everyone, for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.